Gentlemen, and welcome to the regular City Commission meeting of Tuesday, April 5th, 2022. Madam Clerk, may we have the roll?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Mayor Betty Resch.
I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, I have to. Okay, Commissioner Sarah Maliga.
Here.
Commissioner Christopher McVoy.
Here.
Commissioner Kimberly Stokes.
Here.
Commissioner Ronaldo Diaz.
Here.
Thank you. We will have the moment of silence by myself. These are heavy times. These are heavy times for a lot of people. And I send out a hope from all of us here that somehow peace and reasonableness and enough food and stopping the bombing, and please somehow, dear Lord, help us get to some peaceful equation. Thank you. Ronaldo Diaz is going to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do we have any additions, deletions, or reordering?
We do, Madam Mayor. First, unfortunately, State Representative David Silvers will not be able to give the legislative update with Senator Berman this evening as his father-in-law passed away. I extend my condolences to him and his family. And then public hearing B, resolution 23-2022, declaring the intention to change the name of Ocean Breeze to South Ocean Breeze was deleted from the agenda. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor.
Yes,
Yes, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
I want to give an explanation to that item that was pulled at my request. And after looking at that subject matter, I did get ahead of myself, and I would like to take this item to the community prior to bringing it to you to
Okay.
get more input.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Does anyone else have anything? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? From Commissioner McVoy, second by
Second.
Commissioner Stokes. Thank you.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
That vote thing, I always forget that. Okay. Well, presentations. First, we have a legislature update by our own state senator, Lori Berman, and I want to let's join me in welcoming her. And Carmen and Sarah and I just spent a few days up in Tallahassee. We learned a little bit more about how difficult her job is. Thank you to have her.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, newly elected commissioners. Very excited for that. And I see there's going to be a new vice mayor and vice mayor pro tem, so congratulations on that also this evening. So I like to do a report every year, and I'm sorry that my counterpart in the city rep is not here, and I do send my condolences also to his family. So last year with COVID, we had $100 billion budget. This year, we have $112 billion budget. So it is very, very robust. There's a lot of money from the American Recovery Act. 33% of our budget comes from the federal government. Anyway, we get a lot of money for transportation, healthcare. So it was a really robust budget, and there's some really great things in the budget. I believe everybody supported the budget. There are salary increases for our teachers, salary increases for our first responders, minimum salary requirements for our teachers of $47,000 a year, and some money hopefully for the longer serving teachers, because we saw last year there was very big teacher compression. Hopefully we're not going to have that. Minimum wage, $15 an hour for our state employees, fabulous. So really good things, a lot of money for the environment, more money per student. I'd like to see them more, but more money per student than we've done ever, which we should be doing every year. And overall, really that was the highlight of the session, is that there was a lot of money, we could do a lot of things. Very, very happy to report, and as you all know, that Lake Worth, the Lake Worth East Parrot Cove Stormwater Resilience Project got 400 and, let me say the exact amount, I'm not getting it correct, $450,000.
Thank you. And I know that you spearheaded that project and we really appreciate it.
Very excited. Everyone needs to do everything they can to make sure the governor does not veto that. So anything you guys could do to make sure.
Any reason to think he would?
He has been known to veto projects. That's all I will say. Oh, yeah. So anything, I know he's asked for information in the office, I believe. And, you know, hopefully when he has all the information about what a great program it is, he will not veto it, but yeah, hopefully it will go through. It's a great project and it should go
Maybe we
through.
should write some letters of support too.
Yeah, maybe. It's not a bad idea. Okay, and I like to always talk to you guys about what we do in terms of preemption, so you'll know what we can do. For those of you who don't know, preemption is when we in the state say we are the only ones allowed to pass laws on a specific issue, and we stop city councils and county commissions from doing that also. This year was actually less preemption bills, but the one that passed is extraordinarily troubling. They call it the mother of all preemptions.
Mm.
And what it says is if you pass an ordinance, and there is a business that has been in business for 3 or more years, and they can prove that they lost 15% of their business because of your ordinance, they will give you notice. You can rescind your ordinance or not, or if not, they can sue the city for the loss of income. It's very troubling. That is a good one to ask the governor to veto. I don't know if he will, but it is a good bill. I voted against it. When I will tell you that the incoming Senate president was very much in favor of it, and her philosophy was, well, this will be the end. We won't hear any more preemption bills after this. So I would love to hold her feet to the fire on that we won't have preemption bills next year, but I wouldn't count on that in the Florida legislature. We did one really good reverse preemption bill, which was shocking because we don't do that very often. And we said that you can now regulate smoking and vaping cigarettes on your beaches and in your parks. The only thing is, because of one particular senator, they made an exception, and that is for cigars, and you cannot regulate cigars, which is a little bit crazy, but that's the bill. But I hope hopefully you will all take advantage of that being placed in the law. The other thing we did that affects you was in the campaign financing bill. And we said that you are not allowed to go to the public about any campaign financing and speak, such as civic and advocacy groups, and even to educate them about referendums. So like this half-penny sales tax that the school district did, you cannot opine on that at all, even if it's factuals. So I think it's pretty First Amendment violation, so maybe it'll be challenged. But right, and that's the continuation of SB 90, which the courts just overturned, which was the campaign financing from last year. This is this year's version of it. The courts already overturned last year, so very up in the air about whether that will be required or not. But it is something that you should be aware of. I will tell you, we spent an inordinate amount of time on cultural wars and social issues. And it was very, very disturbing. This is my 12th year in the legislature. I would say this was the most time we've ever spent on these kinds of issues. It was very divisive. And what happened was we didn't do the things that affect your everyday pocketbooks. We didn't do anything about property insurance. Not one bill was passed. And I know all of you, as you're getting your property insurance bills, they're out of control. We did not do anything about Surfside. Not one bill passed at all. The city of Boca Raton has already passed their own required regulations about inspections of buildings. Like something you might want to consider because we advocated on that issue. very sad that we couldn't do anything on that issue. We did do we have one constitutional duty every year, and that's to do a balanced budget. We did that. And then we have our second constitutional duty this year, which is every 10 years to do redistricting. So we did a Senate budget, a Senate map, and a House map. And I'm sad to tell you that in the new Senate map, I will be losing Lake Worth. But you will, I am sure, have a good representative. And you should all know that all of us in the Palm Beach County delegation work together. And even if I don't have you, I will still work on your behalf and do everything that we need to be doing with regard to that.
Who did we gain?
Bobby Powell. So that'll be great. Yeah, Bobby will be excellent. Assuming everything stays in place, we all are up for elections in November. So assuming everything, that will be the new senator from this area. And I'm not even sure about the representatives. I haven't studied their map too well. So we passed our map, the House passed their map, both maps went through the court, they're fine. We did not pass a congressional map. There is a war going on with the governor inserting himself into the maps, which is unprecedented. We are going back on April 19th to pass congressional maps. I believe we are going to cave into the governor, and you're going to see some maps that are probably very contentious and will be subject to court battles, but they will go into effect for the election for this year. And then there will be court battles afterwards, and we don't know how that will be resolved. So we still have that issue up in the air, and we'll see how it all plays out. And I like to end by talking to you about what I always think is the silliest or maybe even stupidest bill that we've spent time on in Tallahassee. And this year, my nomination is making strawberry shortcake the official dessert of the state of Florida. Key lime pie is still, yes, exactly. We couldn't do property insurance, we couldn't do Surfside, but we spent a lot of time on strawberry shortcake.
Unless you got it wrong, it's key lime pie.
So key lime pie is still the state pie. They left key lime pie the state pie, but now we have a dessert. Right. Now we have a dessert. Yeah, so it was pretty ridiculous.
Thank goodness they finally
Right.
did that.
Yes, thank God. So that's my report. I am happy to answer any questions that you have about session. Thank you. I always love working with all of you, and I'm sure we will continue to work together no matter how the map's set up.
The one thing we were all waiting with bated breath was the preemption about, well, the sovereign immunity bill.
It did not pass.
Yeah, it
But
was.
I believe it'll come back. I think
Thank
you need to figure out where the numbers haven't changed in something like 15,
A long
20
time,
years.
yeah.
You're probably going to need to change the numbers, figure out where you can be comfortable and try and make a compromise on that issue, because I think that's what will happen.
Because that would be a killer to city budgets.
Right. But you're-
Sovereign immunity now is $200,000 if we get sued. You know, if it's our limit is $200,000 out of our budget before we have to go to the legislature for money. They wanted to raise it to $1 million, that we had to pay $1 million before we go to the legislature. So thank you for that. I see a light on.
Can you just touch base on the bill that passed in regards to net metering? Because obviously we do offer solar here. And for the people who are listening, I just would like them to hear it from your lips directly.
Sure. So I did vote against this bill, and a lot of people did actually vote against it. What the bill says is right now, if you put solar on your roof, FP&L and all the other utilities have to buy it back at a certain rate. And in the new bill, they can buy it back at a much lower rate. So there's much less incentive for people to put solar on their roofs, but they are grandfathering in the people who have solar right now and people who put solar like in the next year or two. So I think it's 2000. They're going to grandfather in until 2023. So if you're thinking of doing solar and you want to get the best advantage, do it now. So I don't think the governor signed that bill yet, but I would be surprised if he vetoes it. There's a couple bills he might veto. There's an alimony bill, which has a presumption of 50-50 child sharing, which in the past, Governor Scott has vetoed it for that reason. So we'll see, but I'm not sure what he'll do with the net metering bill.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Okay,
Thank you for all you
Thank you very
do.
much, really. We did get a glimpse of your life up there for those few days, and
I was not envious, were you?
I was not envious. I was not envious. So thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you so
Take care. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, and I didn't introduce. I do want to introduce Evelyn Lisi from my office, who's here. I just, she's always available. If you have any issues, we're always available. So, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Next up, we have one of our local heroes. Cindy Ansell, our library manager, is going to make a presentation.
Sure.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, my library is kind of a big deal.
It is kind of a big deal. Listen, years ago, the county wanted to take it over, and we did not let that, they did not let that happen, thank goodness, because it would have probably been closed and demolished by now.
Exactly.
So the city's literacy campaign, what's up?
As you see with the banner over there, we have a new campaign calling Lake Worth Beach Literacy City. And this was spurred on by the fact that I saw the results of the 2020 census. They always have some data that they report, and Lake Worth Beach had a very extremely low literacy rate. So I wrote a grant and we got some funds to do a project called Literacy City. And it started this month in April and is going to run through September. And it has a variety of things that we're addressing. Number one is fundamental literacy, that's reading and writing. And we're in the process of installing on the website a learning platform called BrainFuse. And it's a great program that's very, very, very expensive. But we bought it through our information network, so we got a nice reduced price. But the great thing about this particular platform is it's live tutors. So it's not just a canned program. That's 24/7. Make appointments with live tutors. They're on demand anywhere. You can sign in. And they have what I call a skill surfer program, which is like ESL, the English learning programs, test prep. They just have all different aspects. It's a huge platform that will be really great for our people to be able to use anytime, anywhere. But it's not ready to go yet, so that's why you haven't heard anything about it. We are going to use our partners to try to get the word out about it. The NAPC, the neighborhoods, bridges, the Early Learning Coalition, all the different groups that I work with. So that's the fundamental literacy part of it. The next part we have is cultural literacy, and that is teaching people about our community and the services we have to offer residents. We have a lot of people that move to Lake Worth that are not from here and they don't know anything about the city. So part of our project is to teach them about the city. And we're doing it in several different ways. We're having a lot of programs to bring people to the library and other places. I met with the people who plan a lot of the programs for the city, and everyone has agreed that all of our city events will have a literacy component. So for example, we have the Taco Fiesta coming up. The library will be there. And I'm partnering with Mary Lindsay and the Little Free Libraries. We're going to be giving books away and also doing some other activities with the kids there. Same thing with the Easter program. The library will be there with a book and activities for the kids to do. So this is our endeavor for all city programs to have a literacy component so that it's in the forefront of people's minds. But then there's other events that we're having. And one of the things that I was really excited about is a joint project between the Lake Worth High School, their art students, Ms. Feingold's class, made these Chihuly inspired flower towers. And I hope you've seen pictures of them. They're even prettier if you come to the library and see them. But the exhibit is showing the flower towers. We have information about the artist, Dale Chihuly, who does them out of blown glass, but because it's Earth Month, these are made out of recycled materials. And they're in vases that are made out of recycled towels. So the whole thing is earth-friendly and really fun to see. So I hope you'll stop by and see it. But that's just, it was nice to be able to partner with the high school and then with the solid waste. Christine Engel got involved. And so on Earth Day, we'll be able to give out a book that she purchased. Don't throw that away. So that is something for the kids. I told you we'd be at the Taco Fiesta. And then we are having on the 10th, we're having a Mother Goose concert. So the Lakeside Players are going to play Ravel's Mother Goose Suite. And our mayor is going to be the narrator. So it's going to be really fun. And it has a little video images that go along. But every family that comes will get a Mother Goose book to take home.
I love that.
So we're doing a Mother Goose concert that we actually planned before the pandemic.
And when is that?
That is on April 10th. That's
At what time?
2:00 in the afternoon on Sunday. It's
Thank
a
you.
Sunday. We're having our programs on Saturdays and Sundays so that families will be able to attend. We have a lot of other programs going on. In May, around Mother's Day, we're going to have Mad Hatter's Tea Party. Everybody will get a book about the Mad Hatter, and that'll be, you'll see more information about that. In June, we're going to have a program at the beach, digging with Dad, and they're not going to dig too deep though because it's sea turtles. But then we're going to have fun at the beach, and we're giving the guards buckets of swag so that if they catch anybody reading on the beach, we're going to get sunglasses, and, all
fun.
kinds of fun things like that. So, and then the last event I'm going to tell you about is the one we're having in July in Bryant Park. And the city is going to be there with the trucks from the motor pool, the garbage trucks, which are the favorite of every kid, the cherry picker, you know, all the different trucks, the street cleaners. And we're going to give out a book called The City That Talks. And so it's all about the city services that cities do for their residents. And so it'll be a great time, and that's going to be in July. We're having a back to school bash. So lots of different events in different places to bring people to these events, which all are literacy related. The last part I want to tell you about, it's not here yet, but part of the cultural literacy is a literacy city board game that we are still in the design phase, but it's really fun to play. It's going to look like our city with Lake and Lucerne. And the whole idea is you get a little person and you start at the bridge, go over the bridge, and you have to pick up 11 destinations. And when you pick up those 11 destinations, then you go back and you win the game. And the destinations are City Hall, the library, Bryant Park, the golf course, the post office, to teach people kind of where these things are in the city. So I'm really looking forward to that, hopefully the end of this month. The other part I told you about, let's see, we had fundamental literacy, we have cultural literacy, and the last one is media literacy. And we're going to give every fifth grader in Lakewood schools is going to get a media literacy kit. We're going to give these out to the fifth graders before they go out for the summer. And the purpose of it is to teach them how to be good digital citizens, to teach them about critical thinking. It has puzzles and different things like that, but also the dangers of social media. So it's, that's what we're going to do. So they'll all get a kit. It has information inside, and the teachers are going to get a video that explains what's going on so that it can promote this. And this will go out in May before school's out. So those are that's kind of the overview of what Literacy City is all about. And so watch, we have a website. We also have it on the city website. So if you look on the city website, we also have our Facebook page from the city and the library's Facebook pages, which you can get more information about. But we've got lots going on at the library. This is just one of our projects. We've got some others coming up after this one. We'll be doing our connect the community, which is all about getting hotspots and laptops and that kind of thing out to people in the community. But that's for another report. This is enough for right now.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you. very much. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. You're not off the hook. We have some lights. Commissioner Maliga?
No, Commissioner McVoy was first.
Commissioner McVoy's first.
It was close, but.
We'll get a recap on the
This
campus.
is wonderful. I too was alarmed at the census data that we clearly have upward room in literacy and hugely important for people's futures. So wonderful that you're doing this and with so much imagination. It's great to see. Is there any way practical to try to measure progress?
That's really
Difficult.
tricky,
Yeah.
and they only do the census for 10 years,
Right.
so it's not like we're gonna get immediate results. The only thing statistics I can do is measure people coming and how many people log on to our platform, our Brainfuse platform and that kind of thing. So yeah, measuring it is difficult.
Yeah.
And if anybody has any ideas, I'll take them.
That's good. Thank you.
First, I want to thank you for the initiative of writing that grant because I think that's amazing. And isn't your son like a professional gamer? So he's helping you design it?
Oh,
So
really?
it's going to be off the chain, right?
He designed Magic the Gathering, the board game for that.
So we are in amazing hands, right?
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow.
So he calls me up and says, Mom, okay, now what are you doing? Don't
Great.
forget, Mom, nobody will play it. It's not fun.
So tell him that we say thank you from our hearts.
Really?
Yeah, he told me how many minutes a turn was supposed to be and how to,
It's very logistical. There's a lot of-
It's
It's very, yeah, it's scientific. I just want to ask you on the media kits, is there anything that addresses cyberbullying?
Yes,
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
yes.
And we're reaching out to all different areas, different demographics in our city. Guatemalans, and we're reaching out to everybody, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. The materials in the kit, we've got the numbers of people. There'll be Spanish kits, bilingual kits, English kits. We don't have materials in Creole yet, but we've got a little time to.
Okay, good. Commissioner Diaz has a question.
Yeah, first of all, Magic the Gathering, that's super impressive. That's a really that's a big one. And on that note, on data, do you happen to have numbers and data on how many kids don't have high-speed internet access?
That's the difficult. We don't have numbers on it. And we put this together, but the next project, which is connecting our community, we're going to end up with about 50 hotspots that we can get out. What we found in the hotspots we've given out so far, there are places that even with a hotspot, the high speed just doesn't work. So we are going to also, of course, have places where they can come into the library, of course, to use like the Brainfuse and things like that. But yeah, that's a real problem, is to make sure that everybody has the access to the high speed.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Whoops.
I want to recognize Mary out in the back there, the backbone of our literacy city, who has made us all readers, and it's so exciting, our little libraries. And then I see them all over. I was up in North Florida, and there was a little library. It's like, I know what that is. Thank you so much. And not just you, the people that have helped you over the years, and all the stewards, my husband's favorite project. Now, we have something a little bit different. We have a proclamation. Art Deco is a style that some of us, hopefully many of us, are familiar with. And here's my proclamation. Whereas Art Deco is a style of design that first appeared in Europe and flourished internationally between the 2 world wars. It is often characterized by bold, streamlined geometric shapes, rich colors, and stylized ornamentation. And whereas the name Art Deco came as a commemoration of the first day of the 1925 International Decorative Arts Exposition held in Paris. And whereas Lake Worth Beach has a large collection of Art Deco architecture, including the Cultural Council of Palm Beach County and the Lake Worth Playhouse. And whereas the Art Deco Society of the Palm Beaches is celebrating its 35th anniversary in 2022, and whereas Sharon Koskoff, who's with us tonight, the founder of the Art Deco Palm Beach, is honoring Lake Worth Beach and its great collection of Art Deco buildings by including Lake Worth Beach in the celebration of its 35th year and hosting a public reception at the Hatch on April 29th, 2022, between 6 and 8. So we have to remember that date, with various events around Lake Worth Beach from April into June. And whereas April 28th is World Art Deco Day and proclaimed by the International Coalition of Art Deco Societies, now therefore, I, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim April 28th, 2022 as World Art Deco Day in the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, in accordance with the worldwide observations of the same, and encourage citizens of Lake Worth Beach to join this commission in expressing appreciation for Art Deco design. In witness whereof, I have here to set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, to be affixed this 5th day of April, 2022. Sharon.
Hi, I'm Sharon Koskoff. I'm an artist and a preservationist. So I believe that art and art history and preservation can revitalize neighborhoods. And my 36 years in Delray Beach, Palm Beach County, I have worked on that. I've written 2 books. This is my latest one in color, Murals of the Palm Beaches, that of course includes Lake Worth murals, and earlier Art Deco of the Palm Beaches, which includes our downtown Lake Worth, the whole section. And people tell me that the new Publix is the Art Deco neon because of this. Because the commissioners said to Publix, hey, we don't want a Mediterranean revival Publix. We want Art Deco, because Sharon Koskoff's book says we are the largest concentration of Art Deco in Palm Beach County. And it's just, everything is coming together so amazing, so connection, as we use with the library, the connection is the big word. Emily from the DDA in Hatch 1121. I'm going to be having an art show. When is that art show? It just happens to be April 28th, which is World Art Deco Day. I just recently become the secretary of the International Coalition of Art Deco Societies, which means I do a lot of work, and I'm on a board of directors, an international board of directors. Our other members are Buenos Aires, Paris, Australia, New York is the president. The treasurer is in Virginia, Los Angeles. I mean, we're true. It's an international coalition. And every 2 years, they have a world congress. And it's very expensive. I haven't been to all of them, but I've been to Cuba and I've been to Buenos Aires just before COVID. I've been to New York. I've been to Egypt, where Art Deco originates with its geometric pyramids. And where is the Art Deco World Congress coming next year?
I was going to ask you
April
that.
28th on 2023, Palm Beach County. It's coming to Miami with a pre-Congress, exactly April 28th, which will be a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. April 28th, World Art Deco Day will begin in Palm Beach County. Just coincidentally. By creating awareness for World Art Deco Day this year with Trilogy, which is a one-woman show. And why is that? Well, I have a 30-foot mural. It's called Alone Together, a Corona Crisis Collage, a socially distant installation. And as soon as we shut down last March, like March 14th, in 1 week, I was done with the closets and I was done cleaning out the garage and I was going crazy. And I said, we got to get all the artists together, because that's what I do. I connect artists. I put out a call, 113 Palm Beach County artists submitted 6-inch squares, which I designed as the words alone, and I put it over the headlines from the Palm Beach Post and the Sun Sentinel. And then there was such an overwhelming response, I wrote the word 2020, which that was the year that we shut down. But 2020 is really hindsight. If we only knew, if we only could have worn the masks, if we only could have saved some lives from everyone. So the Cultural Council showed this mural, but no one saw it. They were closed.
Mhm.
It was on display from June 13th to September 13th, 2020.
Perfect.
They had headlines in 3 newspapers, the Shiny Sheet, the Palm Beach Post, and a local paper, the Lake Worth Herald, and no one saw it. So Emily, the DDA has a 30-foot wall, and it will be seen, and the artists who participated, we're gonna have a show and tell, we're gonna heal together and talk about the work that they submitted, and that is so important. And then they said, well, what about the rest of the gallery? And I said, well, it's World Art Deco Day. We're gonna have, Art Deco of Palm Beach County, Art Deco International, and it will all connect.
Perfect.
So we're gonna have a walking tour, free lectures, we're gonna have Memorial Day, we're gonna have a Kids Fun Day, all for free except for the walking tour. Hope you can participate.
And the
Thank you
opening
very much.
reception is April 29th
April 29th.
at the Hatch
Attached from 6
between
to 8.
6 and 8.
Awesome.
you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Really, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good to see you, Sharon. Thank you so much. Sharon, about 25 years ago, when she had one of her meetings. It's wonderful.
That's one of bus trip.
I could have been. Okay, next we have the designation of appointments. First is the appointment of vice mayor and vice mayor pro tem. Let me just see what this is about. These are things that I have to separate the agenda and the non-agenda items. So bear with me. Agenda. Thank you. Well, are there any questions or comments by the commission? Who wants to start this conversation about, we're looking for the mayor, vice mayor, vice mayor.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner McCoy as vice mayor since he's had a lot of experience up here. And has been, were you the chair of the tree board? You chaired some other boards, so I think he would be a good fit to step in your absence.
Commissioner Diaz?
I would second that, again, with, extensive experience and his knowledge and guidance. I think he'd be a great fit.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay,
With my gray hair, I think is what the.
I'll always be
Very
the
politely.
oldest person on this dais while we're here.
That's true, but.
Do we do them both together or
Well,
separate? or-
I think we would just do a motion for the vice mayor and then vice mayor pro tem. So do I have a motion
All right, motion to appoint Commissioner McCoy as vice mayor.
and a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Passes unanimously. Do I have a motion to appoint someone as a vice mayor pro tem? I would like to pass the gavel. Here.
There's your first job.
And you're always lucky about this, right? I would like to nominate Commissioner Stokes as a vice mayor pro tem.
Oh, I was gonna nominate Commissioner Malega.
Well, you ladies faded out. You ladies faded out. Commissioner Malega?
I'm fine either way.
Oh, come on.
I will tell you, I was vice mayor pro tem to Commissioner Robinson. So I think it's only fair that you have your turn, Commissioner Stokes. Don't seem so excited over there.
Not much happens. It's not much really.
I appreciate that. So I accept.
So somebody needs to make a motion.
Didn't
Oh,
you-
I made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Take that back.
Didn't I do a good job?
I've never used it. Don't make me use this. Okay, next, we have there's a number of, just for people, there are appointments to different boards and organizations coming up. That we have to amongst ourselves, say, who is that person? I've been in trial all day. I was in trial since 9 o'clock this morning, so I'm a little brain dead if you just bear with me a little bit. So the first one we have up is the Transportation Planning Authority. I believe,
One question when you get a chance.
sure.
What does vice mayor do?
No, don't we also have a delegate, an appointment or something or other to the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council? I believe Commissioner Robinson was our representative. And I don't see it on the list, but I believe it is.
I asked that question to Melissa and she did have an answer.
Melissa may have some information.
Because there were
That's
six things last
I
year.
don't
But it's
remember the
not-
number, but,
Yeah.
but I do.
We
know
have
that-
The League of Cities, but I don't think that's true.
I mean,
Yeah.
Madam Clerk.
Madam Mayor, I do actually have an answer.
okay, shoot.
And the answer is it was our mistake to ever appoint a liaison because it's done by the Palm Beach County League of Cities. So if anybody is interested in serving on the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, they can express the interest. And then it's up to the Palm Beach County's League of Cities, because last year it was on the agenda. And you are correct, former Vice Mayor Robinson was appointed the liaison, and when we let the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council know of that, they went, what now?
Making our
That's not up
rules
to you
over
to
here.
do. So that is in fact why we are back to 5 appointments from the 6, because it is not up to us.
So what's the procedure for the TPA?
I can email all of you about that, but you would go on the website and then they would, I don't know when the terms are up, but it would be up to them to appoint someone, and Vice Mayor Robinson was an alternate because there were no openings.
Well, we'll figure that one out. So first,
I will get everybody the information.
okay, thank you. So first is the Transportation Planning Authority. My understanding is you're currently that person?
I'm currently that.
Okay. Are you interested in continuing to serve?
I'm willing to continue to serve. I sort of gotten used to it. I wasn't aware of what the city clerk just enlightened us. I had thought the possibility would be to give somebody else a chance to do that and switch over to the regional planning council, but I guess that's not.
That's been taken away from you, snatched from you. Well, I mean, we're here for discussion. I mean, I'm going to say one thing about the Palm Beach County League of Cities, which I am on, which I've been on for the past year. And I got a phone call the other day from the president of the Palm Beach League of Cities asking if I would consider being nominated to be on the board of directors of the Palm Beach County Florida League of Cities, given my whatever. So, and I said yes. So I am currently that person, the Florida League of Cities. I'm also the CRA. I'm liaison with the CRA. But my purpose a year ago to do that, and I think you remember this pretty clearly. Commissioner Maliga, when she almost hit me. Never. I want to get to know them and kind of, develop a relationship. I feel comfortable about that now.
Good.
So, and I will still, even if I'm not the liaison, I mean, I'm involved and I would go to meetings and I'm so interested in the CRA, but I'm just kind of throwing that out. I don't have to be on 2 of them, but if there's going to be one of them, it would make sense, I think, for me to be the Florida League of Cities person. It's a fascinating.
The Palm Beach County League of Cities?
Yeah. Yeah. And then that's part of the Florida. League of Cities. Right. It involves going to lunch once a month to all ends of the county in the middle of your workday. So,
I
but
would be happy to nominate the mayor to the Palm Beach County League of Cities, even though that's out of order.
do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I will represent you proudly as a member of the board, hopefully of directors. So,
And that same thing, I'm only interested in continuing on with the Education Task Force. Now that we're meeting in person, we're finally gaining some momentum and I'd like to continue. And that role's really the only thing I'm interested in.
great, do I have a motion?
I nominate Kim to continue. Commissioner Stokes, I apologize, to continue that role.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Commissioner Maliga.
I have had great progress with the NAPC, New York Association President's Council. They formally asked me if I would continue this past Saturday at their meeting, and I would be honored to continue serving as that liaison.
I nominate Commissioner Malega for the liaison to the NAPC.
Okay,
Motion, second.
just second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, which leaves, actually, this is pretty appropriate. Do we have 2 left?
Yeah.
Yeah.
CPA and
Oh,
CRA.
Oh, okay, maybe, all right. Commissioner Diaz, there are 2 open, now generally, I guess the mayor gets the second one if there's needed. there's currently the Transportation Planning Authority and the Community Redevelopment Agency. What would be your pleasure?
I think the thing that I have probably the most experience with would be the TPA,
Mhm.
as for transportation.
Yep.
You know, I ride just about every type of vehicle throughout the city, skateboard to car to bicycle. So, that's something I'd be interested.
But do you ride a hoverboard?
Not yet. Somebody please invent one, a real hoverboard, but, yeah, and, something that, obviously I'm very interested in taking on for Lake Worth is,
Sure.
not just growth management. A big part of that is, of course, traffic safety and transportation and accessibility for ADA and whatnot. So I'm definitely, it's hard to choose one. I'm leaning towards TPA.
Perfect, thank you. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve Commissioner Diaz to TPA.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I would stay as liaison for the CRA. I enjoy it. I don't mind it.
If you didn't want to, I would love to do it, but if you're,
I'm okay to still do, yeah.
Chris is empty now. Is that something,
What?
Chris?
Chris
I'm
is-
empty.
Oh, you're empty. Oh,
I might be hungry for dinner. I'm not empty, but.
okay, there were 5. Okay,
Yeah, are
perfect.
you interested?
Well, now let me just say, let me pass the gavel. I would nominate Commissioner Maliga to the CRA. Do I have a second?
This year.
I'm sorry?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
aye.
Aye. Was that 2 or 3?
Aye.
3? Okay, so Commissioner Malega is on the CRA. And then we have the last one is,
That was it.
that's it. Oh, that's it.
Was an alternate for the TPA.
I was the alternate last year, which I didn't even,
Oh, are we done?
Never-
Yeah,
I never not went.
you never not wanted.
Would you want to be the alternate?
Yeah, that's great.
I'm happy to do that.
okay, do I have a motion?
I motion to nominate, or to appoint Commissioner McBoy to alternate for the TPA.
Okay, great.
Second,
Thank you. All in favor? That's interesting. The only one with an alternate
that's it.
of all of them? That
Never got a
was
phone
the
call from
alternate.
Mr. McGoy saying Mayday.
You always went. You always went. Well, thank you very much. That was. Now we have commission liaison and reports. Let's start with Commissioner Maliga tonight.
I will try to keep it brief. As I mentioned, I went to the NAPC meeting on Saturday. They have a lot of great things happening, including the 4th of July coming up. And this year's raft race theme is Dr. Seuss.
Oh,
Go with it where you will. Any book, any theme, any character. So it's Dr. Seuss. There's no tagline this year. They just did the notice to artists to do the art drawings. I don't think they're going to do t-shirts this year. I think they're looking at koozies instead. So that was the theme that they decided on. I did attend the Criminal Justice Committee's annual meeting with the DOJ last week. That was part of the DOJ grant that we worked on for almost 2 years with the different 9 pods of communities, and Lake Worth Beach community asked for representation on mental health. So I had that presentation last week. This morning I did the PBSO annual breakfast, but I will let the city manager touch on that. Parrot Cove had a block party despite almost having rain. It was a good turnout. This Saturday from 9 to 11 at Our Savior is a free Easter egg hunt. So please bring your kids, tell your neighbors. Suits for Seniors had a great graduation for their first time at Lakewood High School. The mayor and the city manager attended with me. There was 11 graduates. We were very, very happy about that. Hopeful to see some females get involved this next time because it was all boys. And then I'm very happy to say that Palm Beach County Sheriff's has a PAL program in our city at the gymnasium. Met with Captain Bear today, and we're really pushing on the getting people to sign up for it, the kids. And as he explained, we want kids who are not involved with after-school programs. We want the kids who are, like he said, in the crosswalks walking home. And this is where they'll have mentorship. Palm Beach Sheriffs have hooked up these rooms. I mean, they've got pool tables and basketball hoops and I mean, everything you can imagine for these kids. So if you know any children who need to be loved on after school, Palm Beach Sheriffs and the PAL program is where it's at. That's it.
Commissioner McCoy.
I'll keep mine brief and a little bit extended out regionally. Having just spent several days, finally a little bit of vacation and spending some time in Key Largo and in Homestead, Florida City, and some of it in between. I guess one of the things that struck me in going to those different places is that communities can, in fact, have a lot to say about what their flavor is. I learned something related to that recently. Boynton Beach has about twice our population. The last election had about half our voting population. And the person who was relaying that mentioned that, yes, Lake Worth always is more engaged and more involved in more civic interaction, something that we all appreciate, I think, here. I think I'm very hopeful that as we move forward as a new commission, that we will think very consciously of what we want to be as a community, engage the community very broadly to help define that. I think some of the things that Cindy's no longer here, but the literacy, a lot of different angles that will contribute to that, but to not be shy about saying, hey, this is the kind of community we want to be. Let's do some things to make it happen. And that's it.
Thank you. And I think we're all with you on that one.
I thought it might not
Yeah.
be too divisive.
Take a note. Commissioner Stokes.
I've just enjoyed the Pride Parade that we all got to be a part of. Those are all those events are always fun. I'm looking forward to Sunday's event through the library. I spent a lot of my time just trying to talk to staff, and we've been trying to chase down how we can get some of these IT improvements without waiting for the full $6 million ask, or what steps we need to take there. So been really learning a lot with the city manager about the hurdles that we have and what we can do to address those. Also talking to staff, city manager, and she talked to their city attorney about if we need to redistrict in the process, and looking at Green Acres and how they did it and what we can do to make sure that we do have fair, awesome, high turnout elections continuing forward. Been spending a lot of time with our finance director, and we'll probably be trying to solidify some best practices based off the Government Office of Financial Affairs recommendations, and just clean up things so that beyond us, beyond our city manager, will have good policies in place to help make sure that we're doing the right thing when it comes to a lot of our financial decisions that we have to make. In that same vein, was talking to Bruce, I forget his last name, I apologize for not being
Miller.
the director.
Oh, Bruce Miller.
Bruce Miller, okay, Director Miller. And he would, I asked him if it still made sense to even consider the pension obligation bond. We talked about it. We have a new commissioner, we have a new city manager. I'd love to just even look at it again. So I don't know if we have consensus just to pull the number, to ask the advisors, just to pull the numbers, like with the interest rates changing the last time we talked about it to now, can we just get updated numbers?
Jenny, do you have consensus to let that happen? City manager, we have consensus.
All right,
We'll look into it.
great, that's it for me.
Okay, Commissioner Diaz, your first report. Let's hear it.
Yeah, thank you. I've been, getting into gear and just communicating, especially a lot with neighbors and hearing their concerns and what, they would like to be addressed in the near future. So I'm looking forward to that. Been meeting, met with City Manager Davis recently, shared some ideas, kind of where my ideology is at, and some goals I would love to have for the city. We talked about, for example, improving staffing and building a positive work culture for Lake Worth Beach so that we could retain, more staff and competitive and innovative staff. I wish I had more. I'm getting more in gear, but I did participate in a number of events over the weekend through my nonprofit work, where I got the people I already knew, but got to build even more of a relationship, especially as a commissioner. For example, like the mayor of Boynton, some of his staff, city staff, and mayor of Ocean Ridge, for example. And I think there's a lot of excitement on future potential of partnership or sharing ideas and seeing what we can do together.
It's kind of an overwhelming experience, isn't it?
a lot to take on at once. Is quite a change of years for
Yeah.
sure.
Staff kept telling us it's like drinking from a fire hose. There is a bit of that in it. Thank you very much. I have very brief. I also went to the Suits for Seniors, and I have to tell you how moved I was to see these young men. They had to go through an 8-week program, and then they get a suit as a reward. And I think we should recognize them here in the city as well. Our kids, overcome some of that, and they were just lovely. It was very touching. Last Saturday, I had the opportunity to watch Anna Marie Winch. Anna Marie Winch has inaugurated a little chess lessons. And she's been doing it at Common Ground recently, and she's looking for places to do it. And I just went to see and meet the kids and the teacher, and 8 little children sitting very intently playing chess. It was very impressive. There were some children of our neighbors that I knew, and it was, thank you, Anna Maria, for doing that. It's a wonderful program. He's quite a charming man as well. There was a webinar the other day from the Department of Transportation. They're going to be doing some quote unquote improvements to the 6th Avenue exits and entrances. Apparently they feel like they need to do it because it's not working well. And it doesn't involve the overpass. It just involves the ons and off ramps. They're going to put a bike lane in, which I think is a great idea. It's in the works. They've got the designs, that sort of thing. We had some questions. One of my questions was, and they said, yes, my question was about the landscaping. I mean, you go through so many cities landscape, exits, and they're like palm trees, right? We don't have that. So that apparently comes after the construction, and we'll be in touch. I see Mr. Brown shaking his head. It was really important because for the 6th Avenue South, when you go off, it's bleak. The Royal Poinciana trees are gorgeous, but there's that whole big dip, and it doesn't, and the median, it just doesn't look like anybody cares, and I want to change that. Fluffing, my own neighborhood association had a fluffing, their annual fundraiser, and I wasn't able to attend, but I was told it was a great success, and another year that we can buy things for the kids in September. Commissioner McVoy, do you have another comment?
Just one on the vegetation with the 6th Avenue, or 2 things actually with that. One is, yes, there is transportation funding for landscaping. You kind of have to ask for it, make some noise, which I'm glad that you did. And it definitely varies by community. Some communities are very strong about pushing native vegetation, which would certainly fit with our landscape ordinances. So I would encourage us to do that. The other thing, and I don't know whether it's tied to the event that you were at, but I know there's talk of raising
different conversation.
And there was some confusion. There were people on, one of our citizens was on there, and she was talking, and I realized, she's talking about the very down the road that.
Yes.
Over that. Yeah, no, that's
We
different.
need to keep it in our horizon, but
Absolutely.
we'll put it on the TPA.
Peripheral.
Peripheral, did you say?
Peripheral vision.
Thank you. City managers report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. All right, I have quite a bit, so please bear with me. But I tried to narrow it down, but I think you all want to hear the updates of what administration has been up to. This is just the main highlight of some items, but we've been very busy. One I want to announce, I also want to say, yes, I also attended the Sheriff's State of the County breakfast this morning, and just to give you the main issue and highlights, he mentioned about one of the biggest issues that he's dealing with is mental health. And I believe Commissioner Maleka has been working with the county on that committee to highlight that issue for the different communities. And also he indicated that that's the major challenge, and having the resources and funding to carry out that. Of course, he is the biggest provider for mental health care, which is in the county jails. So that is certainly not the ideal place for treatment and rehabilitation for those.
Nice to hear you recognize that we have a problem
that way, but
step in the right direction.
But certainly that's the challenge that he's facing. He also mentioned that about gang activity in the county. However, he felt like that the organization is on top of it. He's fully aware of it, and they are working to mitigate those issues, and also the securing of the waterways. He talked about, of course, the traveling of those from other countries into our country through the waterways and how he's securing those areas in order to make our community safe. So he mentioned those items. So I just want to share those highlighted discussion items that he shared with us today. On a higher note, I wanted to share about some of the city events that are taking place this month. We are having the Taco Fiesta in Bryant Park on April 9th at 3 p.m. And also on April 16th at 10 a.m., the Easter egg hunt at Bryant Park. So I want all to feel welcome and attend those events in Bryant Park this month. Also, some of the issues that we're addressing in administration, the team has been busy trying to coordinate several meetings for the public. One, as the commission has charged us with, is to organize the appointment interviews for the advisory board. And so that is tentatively scheduled on June 11th. That's a Saturday. So with the confirmation that all commissioners and the mayor, you all are available that date. I have talked to some of you. So if you confirm that date is available on your calendar, we will lock it in, and we will then advertise for that day in advance, so that we will allow those who are interested in being appointed to those advisory boards or interview for those advisory board positions, that they will have time to study the role for those different advisory boards, as well as ask questions prior to the interview, so that they can, of course, be able to present themselves well to be appointed. Also on June 30th, we are tentatively scheduling that for the quarterly district public forums. As you know, in the commission's rule of procedure, you have allowed yourself to hold quarterly meetings in each district during the year. And we're going to start with District 1. And so tentatively have that June 30th. So please confirm with me that you are free on that date.
Yep.
So that we can lock that in and also plan for that day. Projects. Also for your calendar this month for upcoming workshops. We have on April 11th, the LDR's Affordable Housing and Economic Development discussion will be held on April 11th. And then on April.
That includes sustainability bonuses as well. That's part of the.
Yes, part of the LDRs. And April 25th, we're having the visioning session. So as I mentioned to each one of you, if you can provide your 5 top priorities for the city, and also how do you see the future of Lake Worth Beach? That would allow us to help navigate and facilitate discussion at that meeting. And that will move us forward to have a very robust and productive discussion.
Should the 11th and 25th already be on our calendars?
Yeah.
It should be on your calendar. Yes, that has already been locked in and scheduled
Not
to
seen
take
either one.
place. But I also want to announce it for the public so that they can be aware of what we'll be discussing. They may be very interested in it.
And I just want to say, to the city manager and to staff, thank you for getting the logos on City Hall changed with our correct name and city changing. It's nice to see us embracing Lake Worth Beach as our name on all of city buildings. So I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart.
Absolutely. You're so welcome. And we appreciate your attention to it as well. We're gradually folding it out. And as we move along, you'll see more of that coming.
And I just want to add, because I've been asked a couple of times, the water tower is due to be repainted, and it will be taken care of when we do repaint it.
Wouldn't
Absolutely.
it be nice if like Wyland, the art gallerist, to come in here and do a big wailing wall and
Yes.
make that
An RFP for that project will be going out very soon. Other dates, as you know, we've had a lot of discussion regarding the L&M project, and the charrette will be taking place this month at the end of the month. But also in interest of that project and the properties located on that proposed project, you have asked us to evaluate the properties, the vacant properties. And so we have secured a contractor to do an evaluation of the conditions of those properties. We should receive that report somewhere about the end of the month, 1st of May. And once we receive that, the condition report, we will share it with you, and we will schedule a discussion on that report, as well as how we move along on developing that property. And so we are projecting that we'll have discussion in June among the commissioner meeting, the commission during a June meeting.
Is there a date for us to be able to tour the properties yet?
Yes, and so you'll be hearing from staff, Juan or Savina will be reaching out to you to schedule a date for you to tour the property. So this week you should be hearing from someone to do that.
So get our hard hats ready.
Get your hard hats ready.
Wear closed shoes. So the charrette is on the 30th. I'm just looking at our schedule. The charrette is on the 30th. And then after that, the staff is going to be looking, at the different, the buildings
We'll be looking at the buildings before.
before that. Okay.
Yes, hopefully you will be able to tour the buildings prior to the charrette. But we will
Okay.
have a full comprehensive discussion in June. Hopefully being able to talk about some highlights of the charrette, the condition of the property, as well as options and how you would like to move forward on developing that property.
Will that be a evening meeting? I'm scheduled for surgery in July, so I'd like to make sure that this happens.
This is going to be during a regular meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yes, one of your regular commission meetings. So one of the June meetings.
And the district one is June 30th.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm throwing out a lot of dates. We have a lot of happenings around here, right?
And then the budget.
Oh, yes. We haven't got the budget yet, but we're gonna have discussions on that as well. The other update I want to give you is regarding grants. As you know, every year Congresswoman Franco has her fiscal year community project funding program. So we, as departments, have been looking at some of the projects that we have on our capital improvement program list. And so we will be submitting projects to request funding for her fiscal year 23 community project funding program. And so those applications or those submittals are due April 15th. So we just got word of this funding opportunity maybe 2 weeks ago. So we're moving very quickly to submit something so that we can fund some of the projects that we have interest in funding. So
Thank you for doing that, because she had that webinar about the grants and she was like, well, the due date is April. It was like, could you give
Tax
it a
day,
little
right?
heads up? So
Yes.
thank you for
Yes,
getting.
she had a follow-up
staff for doing that.
webinar today, and Juan attended that as well. So we're getting all the information we can so we can correctly submit a successful proposal.
Thank you. I keep,
City manager, can you email us what those projects are going to be?
Oh, yes, you certainly will know prior to that.
And I would like to, I will take it upon myself with your permission to reach out to Senator Berman and other entities to write letters of recommendation for us to get those funds for those projects,
Absolutely.
whatever we can do to carry weight.
Absolutely. And I know the time is very tight for that. And looking at her criteria and information for submittal, it is not required, but certainly if we have them, it's helpful.
Sure.
So this is just a summary of interested projects, and then she will select projects, and then we will submit more detailed information on those projects if we are selected.
thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you.
And thank you, staff, for working on this stuff. I know that you're.
I have
busy.
more.
Oh, yeah, more?
More. And wait, there's more.
And I'm sure you all are very interested in this, the Gulfstream Hotel update.
There's some people in the audience I know who are interested.
Yes, and I did see some comment cards, but of course, we're going to try to keep you updated on the progress. There has been some progress on the application. So as of April 1st, the city staff is in receipt of a complete entitlement development request application, including revisions for the restoration and redevelopment of the hotel and the adjacent properties. An initial public hearing before the city's Historic Resources Preservation Board is scheduled for Wednesday, April 27th at 6 p.m. in the City Commission chambers. So we're also going to have a banner on our website to keep the public updated on the progress of this project. So please stay tuned, and there should be information if you have questions on the project. There should be a number and listing where we can ask questions or get more information. All right, and that concludes my update.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wonderful to have
That was a
you.
mouthful.
Listen,
That's just a highlight of what we've been doing, and there's more to come.
and in your spare time.
Oh, right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. I love that we have this now. Public participation of non-agenda items. Do we have any cards, ma'am?
I have one.
Madam Clerk, do you have any?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have two short comments.
Okay. Thank you.
And starting tonight with the assistance of City Manager Davis, we will be using the time clocks to time the participants.
She has transferred power.
She's city manager. Okay, is that
But
one?
I'm ready. Would you like me to begin or do you want to begin in the chambers?
What a minute. And really, when people bring the blue cards up, just give them to me. We don't need to make, oh, new business.
I need.
Oh, 20. Mr. Morgan, is that the rent? Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Just give it to me.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Right.
Oh, okay, all right. Why don't you start, Madam Clerk?
I'm happy to, Madam Mayor. My first comment is from Michael Layberger, 614 South K Street. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Michael Layberger, and I'm a proud Lake Worth Beach resident who loves this city. Unfortunately, my neighborhood has become overwhelmed by parking and litter problems. I ask you this evening to please solve these problems for us. We deserve to have clean and safe streets with sufficient parking as much as anyone. Letting anyone park as many cars of any size anywhere they would like is not tenable for a neighborhood with our density. This is why most well-run cities that protect the quality of life equitably for all their residents have some form of alternate side parking or space management program. At a minimum, I ask you to post signs with a street sweeping schedule. This would ensure that we at least have a chance to have our streets cleaned. Thank you for your service. I look forward to your response.
What was the address on that?
6-1.
I just closed the comment card, but I can forward it to you. if you'd like.
614 North J.
Just curious.
614 North J.
South. Next up.
Next up is Todd Kimberlane, 320 North E Street. Esteemed Commissioners and Mayor, Lake Worth Beach City Commissioners requested that all Palm Beach Sheriff officers working in Lake Worth Beach be equipped with body cameras a while ago. Can you tell us the status of that request? If the requested action has not been taken, will it be discussed in negotiations with PBSO at the time of their coming contract renewal? Nationwide, municipalities have approved measures that require police officers to wear body cameras. Lake Worth Beach should adopt the same policy in order to increase transparency between PBSO and the public. What say you? Thanks.
We say that we actually have an update. Normally we don't do this, but we have an update.
I do have an update.
I'm just going to introduce you.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So I think I gave our city manager a small heart attack when I raised my hand this morning to ask Sheriff Bradshaw a question. And the question was, where are we with body cameras? To his response was, we have finalized the RFP. We are very particular in the organization that we want to do business with. And instead of just finding a body camera that just gave images, they wanted to do something that was live streamed as well. So supervisors could show up and de-escalate a situation. So I also had a conversation with Captain Bear. He said, yes, because he's on the committee, they are this close to finalizing it. And he said he is happy to say that he believes we will be kicking this off by the end of this year.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Madam Clerk?
No, I do have the address though for the first comment. It was 614 South K Street.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Those are all the comments I have for this.
All right, I have a few cards up here, and we're going to start with our own Mary Lindsay.
To work this clock for 3 minutes. Ms. Lindsay.
I love the efficient city. Good evening, Commissioners. First, please allow me to congratulate Commissioner Diaz and welcome to the Lake Worth Commission. This is a fabulous city, and I know you will do your very best to keep it that way and enhance it. Secondly, I want to, from the bottom of my heart, thank the City Commission and the city manager and anybody else who was involved in the decision to allow the Friends of the Lake Worth Library to have the space in the annex building that used to be the story time room, to turn it into the friendly little bookshop, the proceeds of which go 100% to the Lake Worth Library. We kicked off during street painting weekend, and our opening night, we did $732.
Wow.
Yeah, seriously, the reaction from the public has been fabulous. We are at this time only open on Saturdays from 1 to 4. I am so happy to tell you that having done a lot to get the thing up and running, I have made myself obsolete there, which is great. Laurel Robinson handles a whole staff of volunteers. We are booked several months out. 2 volunteers in every shift to work it. I go in just to check the books and to make sure that our stock is as near perfect as it can possibly be, because Lake Worth has a bunch of very choosy readers, and we want to serve them well. We want to represent the city well. I will suggest that when you do get around to repainting the water tower, it should say Literacy City. I cannot overestimate or tell you enough about how Cindy Ansell has worked so hard to promote this Literacy City program. This is going to be huge. To be literate is not really just about being able to read and write. It is about having the extraordinary ability to engage with our neighbors, to engage with the community as a whole, to engage with our environment, with the business community. All of that goes into the package of literacy. And how lucky are we that at the very center of that effort is our very own Lake Worth City Library, of which I know we are all inordinately proud. Like her t-shirt shed, and I'm going to order one myself. My library is kind of a big deal. Please, commissioners, when you get around to sharpening your pencils for the budget, please do your very best to restore 2 paid positions there. There is only so much we can do in the time that we have. And I don't work for the library. I'm just a volunteer. They are all working way harder and more hours than they should have to. We need people. If we want more hours, if we want more programs, if we want more engagement, we need more staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
I was at the store on Saturday and it's fabulous. Todd Townsend.
Hey friends, good to see everybody tonight. Just wanted to thank everybody for coming out to the candlelight vigil last week, and then the 2 that couldn't make it, I wanted to say thank you for saying that you wanted to be there, but you couldn't be there. So next Wednesday, let's do it again. So 7:30 to about 8:30 next Wednesday at the square. Let's just gather for peace. Let's have candlelights. Let's talk. I mean, we did some talking. We did come up with something, and that's the fact that, hey, everybody's lives have been touched by war at some time in your generational situation with your life. So we picked that up right away, and I think that there's a lot more to discuss and a lot more to happen. So please come on out next Wednesday, 7:30 to 8:30 at the square. Everybody watching at home, come on out, and let's just be together. Let's just be together. Thanks.
Thank you. Jonathan Nicholas. You like that beat.
I was just gonna say, she's getting a hang of it over there.
Please state your name and your address first.
Jonathan Nicholas, 3 Auburn Drive, Lake Worth.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners and Madam Mayor. Thanks for the opportunity to address you tonight. My name is Jonathan Nicholas. As I said, I've been a resident of College Park for 22 years. I'd like to begin by congratulating Commissioner Diaz for your recent election victory. I have to admit, I was not a supporter, but I do wish you well in your service to the city.
Thank you.
Honestly, the reason you didn't have my support was due to what I perceived as an unclear position on the Gulfstream Motel. The Palm Beach Post quoted you as saying that you were in favor of restoring the existing hotel, but wanted more details on the new building. I'd like to remind the new commission that voters approved by a wide margin the ballot measure in March 2020, allowing buildings adjacent to the Gulfstream to meet the historic hotel's 87-foot height. In June of last year, the commission approved a letter of understanding with CDS Holding and Restoration St. Louis, and also agreed to provide $1 million in infrastructure improvements around the Gulfstream. These agreements presumably cleared the way for developer to push forward with $100 million plus renovation and construction project. The commission also signed off on a 10-year tax abatement. From an article in the Palm Beach Post, it was stated, according to a spokesman who discovered the Palm Beaches, a reopened Gulfstream will attract 12,000 guests annually and generate over $7 million spending in the city. It will undoubtedly provide many jobs to local residents and community that has a nearly 25% poverty rate. I feel that we're very fortunate to have such a reputable firm such as Restoration St. Louis to be so actively interested in our community and this project. They've actually moved here and have listened to the residents of Lake Worth Beach and truly want to deliver a great design for our city. After feedback from residents, they scrapped the original plans and even redesigned the project. I'm sure that these changes have come at a significant cost for the developer, and it is my fear that our new commission will want more changes, which may result in possibly losing out on a great opportunity for our city. While the restoration of the Gulfstream has wide support, I understand that there's a concern of the new structures behind the current structure. In order for a hotel to be economically feasible, a greater number of rooms of larger size and greater amenities are necessary. If we want to improve our tax base and attract future development, we have to live up to the commitments that were made to this partnership, because if we don't, why would any other investor want to develop Lake Worth Beach? Timing is everything. We thought this project was ready to go in 2020, then came COVID, and investment dollars dried up, causing more than a year delay. I would hate for a recession or some other unforeseen event that could cause yet another delay. As a taxpayer, I have to say that a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, and I hope that you support this group and see to it that the taxpayers of Lake Worth Beach get what they voted for in March 2020.
Wow, you did
Well
perfect,
timed.
right?
Very much. Mr. Torres, Joseph Torres.
Council, Mayor, and welcome Commissioner Diaz. Hi, Commissioner Gordon. Joseph Torres, 512 North H Street. I'm not gonna talk fast, but I'm talking about 527 North Dixie Highway, Highland Alley. And
You have to speak up just a little bit, I'm sorry.
I'm calling about 527 North Dixie Highway, which is a bar, have had several overdoses there, at least 5 that I'm aware of. The conditions of it, the rear of it, and I think it's another property on the side of it. I don't know if it's 523 or 524. It's another building that's vacant, that's been remodeled. And I think it's supposed to be set up for apartments, which should not be. It's a bar there. We should make sure that that does not turn into an apartment building, and that it should be set up as a business structure next to this bar. But I'm here because right now there's furniture in the rear of this business, and has been for over 2 months. I called the street, trash people, and they said there's nothing they can do because the crane can't get back there to lift the furniture out. But why is there furniture there in the first place when no one should be living there? Well, there's a garage there with an AC unit in it, and it's been people living there since I've been here in almost 10 years. And it's been nothing but heroin activity there, and next door 521 Arts and Collectibles, which has an apartment over top of it. These 2 buildings and these 2 premises is a big problem in this block that has been nothing but drug haven since I've been here. The police, of course, are aware of it, and it's not much that they can do because a lot of the transients come through and the same dealers and so forth come through. But there's been a lot of activity there and a lot of heroin overdoses there since that place has opened up. Now, I'm understanding that right now, that bar does not have its license. I guess it's expired. but you need to reconsider before you all permit them to have an additional license again. Also, our street, Mr. Diaz, has a traffic issue on this road, North H, from here to 10th. It should be one way. We need bike lanes here and speed bumps, because this is Dixie Highway, right here on H Street. You don't live here. None of you guys live here. I've been complaining to you about this when I first moved here. And it still continues, which is being ignored because none of you live here. I've had my cars hit 2-3 times. We got a car October, then 1 month we had 4 cars hit on our street, hit and run, that we got to pay out of our pockets for the deductibles and so forth. And when they made our street paved, they did not consider bike lanes or making it one way. And in the middle of the morning, 5 in the morning, cars are flying through there and so forth like this, you know. In addition to that, our alleys were repaved, half paved. And I spoke this last time I came to this meeting. I called the street people to find out why our alley was half paved. When they pulled up and did work on our street and our alley, it's half paved. Why? And it should be corrected, and I'm demanding that the city have this fixed immediately.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Thomas Osterholt.
That furniture's been out there for 2 months.
You, sir, I assure you, you made your point.
So my name is Tom Osterholt, and I live at 2111 Notre Dame Drive. Relatively new resident here, so I have some observations. We have a new body here, and you're going to be making, I think, a number of important decisions. What I have observed from talking to people, reading the newspapers, there's been a steady reduction in city staff due to the revenue issues. The city has an electrical infrastructure that needs substantial capital improvements. Where I live on the edge of town, there's hundreds of thousands of gallons of water that's dumped into the street every month because you want to get the chlorinated water all the way out to the edges of the boundary. And the fire hydrants are open almost 3 days a week in my neighborhood, just dumping the water in the streets. City needs to rebuild its revenue. City needs to do a lot of capital improvements, and that $40 million bond issue was phenomenal. Did a lot, but a lot more needs to be done. And the casino, that's been, I know, a bane for the city, but when I go there, it is busy. And if you could rehab that structure, you would generate more revenue. And so all the needs that I heard up here can be addressed by one thing, and that's revenue. And that is not a one-time shot revenue, but that is ongoing revenue. And that actually brings me to the Gulfstream Motel. And actually, I had an opportunity to hear Commissioner Diaz speak with the other candidates. I also was confused and honestly quite concerned that you weren't that forthcoming to really address what I thought is a critical issue. The Gulfstream has been sitting vacant for 17 years. It is an eyesore. Vagrants are down there. My wife won't even go into the park, I can tell you that. It seems to me that that's the one thing I'm aware of as a private citizen, that the Gulfstream is going to generate ongoing revenue on a yearly basis. It's going to hire a lot of people that need to be employed in this city. It's going to clean up that park area, and it's going to generate a lot of revenue for the businesses here. And lastly, if anyone thinks that that project can be financially viable without that tower, they're wrong. I was a real estate lawyer for 42 years, not in this community, in another community. I can tell you I've done a number of deals, and that tower is absolutely essential to make that whole project work. I don't see anyone just taking that old building that currently exists and rehabbing it. You're going to need to have that structure. And the last thing I'll leave you with is, I did have the opportunity to vote at the ballot with a bunch of other citizens that said to this prior board, but it's applicable here. The people said, reopen the hotel, build a new tower on the same block as the Gulfstream to match the hotel's 87 feet height. That's what was on the ballot. That's what people voted for. And honestly, I came from a community where they honored the vote of the people. And what I'm saying is, if this board would decide, no, we're not going to do the tower, or we're going to reduce the heights, that's not what was voted for.
Okay, you're out of time, and I think you're not I don't think you're gonna have an argument from anybody sitting here.
Oh,
I
yeah.
see Mr. Jazz shaking his head. We're good.
Well, that's good. Thank
We're
you.
good.
And I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
we all are. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can make a quick comment. I mean, as City Manager Davis just pointed out, we received the final application on April 1st. And it's difficult to agree to things until you see the full plan ahead of you. And, leave it at that, essentially. I'm looking forward to I'm still going through the packet, so I'm looking forward on making this move because that hotel has been closed for almost half my life now. And I remember when, it was closed. I remember what it was like before. And I, for one, will be right there with you in that first floor bar, drinking hands, celebrating when it gets opened.
We'll all get to smash a champagne bottle again. Daniel Kushigian, and I apologize if I didn't say that correctly.
No problem.
Thank you.
Hi, Tanyel Tushagian. You can call me TK for short. I just want to come up here and introduce myself. Maybe you've seen me around City Hall the last couple of weeks. I'm a West Palm Beach resident, I live 441 32nd Street. But I've been in Palm Beach County my entire life since 1982. Went to FAU for my undergrad. I'm involved in a couple of local charities that impact Lake Worth Beach 201 Helpline. My wife and I were the gala chairs in 2019 and 20 and helped raise a lot of money for that charity. We do a lot of work with them. So I want to thank you for what you do with 211 and the Palm Beach Symphony, which was brought to my attention just today. I'm on their development committee. One of the things that we're passionate about, my wife and I, is instrument donations and instrument drives. And Lake Worth High and Middle are getting, there's two programs at both of those schools where we give instruments to kids at those schools.
Oh, awesome.
And after I heard about the Lake Worth Middle School being the highest number of homeless students in the county, I thought that was really important. So I just wanted to introduce myself and share some of that with you. I advocate on a wide array of issues professionally for human rights, technology, cybersecurity, affordable housing. I know there's a lot of talk about federal grants and funding. I mentioned this to Ms. Davis previously. I owe you an email. But one grant I want to make you aware of is the $1 billion cybersecurity fund grant for local, municipal, and tribal areas. That was approved as part of the Infrastructure and Investment Jobs Act, IAJA, last year. That money will start to become available this spring and summer. First tranche of about 200 to 300 million was just announced. That the guidance there, it's going to be administered by FEMA through the CISA, Cyber Intelligence Security Administration. And so I just want to make you aware of that. And I'm happy to share with you. I have a friend who's a lobbyist in DC. Unfortunately, I can't advocate for the city. I'm a little too busy these days. But I have a colleague who represents Delray Beach and other municipalities in Palm Beach County that I think Lake Worth Beach could benefit from. You basically get a lot of more return on your investment when you hire a group that's going to bring in more money than you're compensating them for. And I'm working with city staff to identify grants such as this one that I identified and plenty of others that they can help you with. So I'm happy to put you in touch with that company. And like I said, they represent other municipalities here, and I know they could greatly benefit you in Lake Worth Beach and the residents as well in that light. So just wanted to say hello.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the city, and thanks for your interest in art. Have you met Dr. Cox?
Tiffany Cox.
Tiffany Cox is the director of the Lake Worth band, the Lake Worth High School band.
No, I haven't.
Oh my God, you have to meet her. She started that about 5 years ago with about 15 kids.
Okay.
She's up to like 85 or 90 now.
Oh, wow.
They were the first, a couple of years ago, they had the first invitation to the state championships. And they all went on a bus to Daytona Beach. It was fun. I'm a great band nerd. So, and she's got a doctorate. We have to get you together. She is amazing.
I'd love to connect her with
the
CEO.
She has created such a culture of success and wonderfulness in that school. She's got purple hair. She's just great. People love her. So we have to hook you up with, and I have your address.
Yes, thank you very much.
Your email address. Write that down.
Sure.
Thank you. Oh, well, that's a wonderful way to end. So thank you very much. Now we have the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now we have public hearings. Item A is ordinance 2022-4, the second reading, amending chapter 2 administration regarding sale of city-owned properties. Mr. Attorney, would you read the title, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 2022-04 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Lake Worth, Florida, amending chapter 2 administration, article 1 in general, section 2-1, sale of city-owned property, providing for exchange of property, providing severability conflict, notification and effective date.
Hold on. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments? This is the second reading. Were there any changes made? Were there any changes made? No. Okay.
I have no public comment, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Motion to first.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item C, ordinance 2022-5, which is the first reading of the revised municipal cemetery ordinance. City Attorney, please read the ordinance.
Ordinance number 05-2022 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Lake Worth, Florida, amending chapter 10 cemetery, updating streamlining the ordinance, preventing severability conflicts, notification and effective date.
Thank you. I see a light on Commissioner McCoy.
Yeah, I looked through this and was just a little bit concerned that there were a lot of changes in here. Quite a bit of striking out of old language and some introducing of new. And I am by no means a cemetery expert in any way, shape, or form, but
Pretend you're one.
but I did go to one of the meetings that Commissioner Malega, I believe, helped set up and took detailed notes, which I think the city manager shared with all of us, and came away from that meeting that was down in the gym. No, not in the
Osborne
the other-
Community Center.
You're right. And I came away with a couple of take-home messages. One was at least the cemetery that is near in the Wingfield community is very important historically to a number of people in that community, to families that have been around a long time. Some of them are families that no longer live in Lake Worth, but still would look forward to being buried there because relatives are there. There were a series of issues with it. There were issues of how well the city manages the cost of doing it. There were suggestions made at that meeting of ways that we could improve. There were a number of things that seemed to me, and I at the time that I took the notes, I also put together a series of questions, some of which we have seen responses to, some of which are still a little bit pending. But it seemed to me that there's quite a bit of meat to this problem, and it isn't something that I'm aware of that we as a commission have sifted through. And so I was just a little bit concerned that are we jumping the gun somewhat with this? Have we really thought through some of the suggestions that were made? Have we checked them and to see whether maybe there are better suggestions? Where are we on some of that? That's my only concern about proceeding at this point.
Okay, I saw that a lot was, ruled out, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it appears that all the things that were crossed out were things that are like rules and regulations, which are now going to be adopted by resolution.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct, yes. Resolutions are easier to
Right.
update and keep current.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Commissioner Maliga.
I will follow up on Commissioner McVoy. We had a follow-up conversation 2 weeks ago at the Osborne Community Center, where I presented the answers that Mr. Brown has given to your questions and the questions that the community had. Went over the new proposed fees that Mr. Brown is looking at, told them that we're rewriting the ordinance and that we're going to turn it into a resolution. And what we found through these conversations is that there was no paper trail, right? There was no contract, there was no receipt. These families weren't getting anything tangible for what they were. They get a hand stamped receipt. Okay, there you go. And that's all they had. So now Mr. Brown and staff have taken time, which I'm very thankful for. These cemeteries have been ignored for pretty much their whole lives. And him and staff and legal have really gone through the meat and potatoes. And I questioned all the striking as well.
Shocking.
Yeah, no, literally, I was like, wait, like, what is going on? And then that's what I heard from Christie from the city attorney's office, the same thing. My only concern, and I read through this with a fine tooth comb, was the perpetual care language that I had a really hard conversation with Christie on, which is under section 10-1, letter C. And then if it goes down to 10-2, letter C, both of those talk about fees. And under 10-2, fees says from time to time, the city commission shall, by resolution, establish the fees to be charged for the sale of plots, permits, burials, and other services. I had recommended that we add in perpetual care as language as well, because that's something that we've heard from the residents, that they're like, well, then charge for perpetual care. So if we're going to charge for it, I think that we really need to add it to this part, even though it says other services. I think that just as a protection layer, we might want to look at adding that perpetual care in there before other services.
What say you, Commission, to that?
I'm fine to add that in.
Okay, thank you. Do we have?
I have a,
Yeah, I see your light on.
the printer is causing me trouble and I don't get my books printed. I was having a hard time trying to go through all the language and I didn't have enough time to do as thorough of a read as I'd like to, but I'm just curious if staff or anybody's going to give us some explanation for. I noted like this was moved to that section, but things were moved and things were also changed along the way. There's just a lot that we're approving in one giant swoop here. But one of the things that was added, and I don't know if this is old or if we're changing this, under 10-2 V, it says the rules and regulations adopted by the city commission may also be amended from time to time by the director of public works department or the city manager. So I was a little confused by that. And we're taking the fees out of here and putting them into our budget, which we all know our budget process is long. There's multiple meetings. The fee schedule is multiple line items. And so that might be the right thing to do, but you know, I don't want it to look like we're slipping this into somewhere that's easy to like change later on down the road. And now, you know, we're giving the kind of authority to staff to make some changes and
just who do they think they are? I didn't catch that. I am looking at that and I
mean, I don't think you personally have to sign your name every time the city sells a plot.
Oh, I do.
That change and everything, but
I
changing
do.
the rules and regulations, I don't know, that struck me.
Okay, so Commissioner Stokes, are you asking for us to delete the may
Can we
also?
get a presentation by staff?
That's what I was wondering, if we
Okay,
had a
sure.
presentation, because there's a lot going on here.
Okay.
But that was the one thing that really caught my eye.
Mr. Brown, you might answer one of your questions. Let's Brown go.
I was waiting patiently.
And you're a patient man.
For the record, Jamie Brown, Public Works Director. So what we're doing here is, as I mentioned in the staff report, you know, the rules and regulations, nothing's been done since 2013. A lot's changed. We've updated a lot of language. Typically in an ordinance, you're not going to have any reference to any kind of fees or anything. That's for our fee schedule. That's actually approved every year. Schedule of fees as part of the budget process, which makes it a lot easier for us to modify fees for one reason or another. So we wanted to make sure we moved any kind of reference to fees and stuff out of the ordinance itself, and pulled a lot of other outdated language and stuff out of here too that you will see in the rules and regulations. So the process would be, you know, obviously if this gets approved here tonight, the second reading would have it on for the first meeting in May, which I believe is the 3rd. And on that same meeting under new business, there would be a resolution for the rules and regulations. So that would actually fall on the same meeting. So a lot of the stuff that you're seeing strike through up here, it actually got transferred to the rules and regulations.
Okay. Commissioner McGuire.
And thank you for the presentation and the clarification. That certainly helps. My concern, and I'm going from memory from that meeting that I attended and took the notes on. I came away with a sense that, well, one thing that I learned, which I believe to be true, is that municipal cemeteries are not subject, for the most part, and I think it states it in here, to most of the state rules. Whereas if you have a private cemetery, you are subject. I would think that it would behoove us to look at, I mean, the issue with cemeteries is they have a very long lifespan.
Or,
Not really.
or,
And families have some degree of an expectation when they sign up. Now, that can change over time, but in general, I would think that it's not good city policy to have it change around a whole lot. So I would, for instance, what we learned, if you're a private cemetery, when you buy a plot, you have to, a portion of your funds of what you pay goes into a separate fund that's completely
Perpetual care.
Perpetual care, the city manager, or the state managers, I guess, the private operator cannot touch it. That seems to me like a pretty good procedure and one that we could easily choose to adopt and make sure that we in fact do have the money for care in the future. That was raised a lot by residents I heard was, hey, you guys don't seem to, you know, and it just seems to me there are things that we want to build in best practices as much as possible. So why not adopt a number of the state ones? I don't really think we're fully ready with this. That's what I think. At least I don't feel comfortable. If I had to meet with a similar group to what I heard before, I would not feel, even with the resolution, I mean, if they looked me in the eye and said, well, what is this gonna look like in 20 years when you're all gone? Staff's changed, the commission's turned over 3 times. What guarantee does my family have that?
They don't have a guarantee now, which is how this conversation.
Never been a
came
guarantee.
forward, Because
I'm not arguing with you. I think that you're raising an excellent point.
And what I heard from, in some of it was in individual discussions later after the meeting, was there were periods where there was somebody who actually lived in the community who their job was to take care of the cemetery. They lived there, they knew the families that were buried there, they personally were interested in it, they had a lot of connection.
They
And
were
that
city
solved
employee?
a lot
It
of
was a city
problems.
employee?
Yes, it was a city employee. That solved a lot of problems. That's a situation that can happen for a period of time, but isn't necessarily one that happens.
Which is why-
perpetuity. So trying to build it in as rules and regulations that take care of it is harder. It's much better if you have somebody that just knows over and says, hey, I'm gonna take care of it.
Right, but we don't have that anymore.
We don't have that.
But with all due respect, the community is looking for, and I've met with Jamie Brown, the community is looking for a commitment. So with IA Banks, the communities, which is the one that you're referring to next to Osborne Community Center, the community is very much, we got this, we take care of that one. We really don't need the city to do anything except for give us a scheduled maintenance plan for fertilization and weeding. That's all the community cares about with IA Banks. Now, the community surrounding Pinecrest is a whole different conversation. They want security, they want closure of all the different entrances, they want to make it more beautiful, I guess, because it's more houses facing it. So that's part from my detailed conversation with Mr. Brown is part of the rules and regulations. We're going to provide the families a set schedule of, okay, this is when we are going to, unless a hurricane comes through and puts us off, you will expect to see fertilization during this season. You'll expect to see weeding done. But with perpetual care, I asked the same question, to which Mr. Brown said.
Yeah, so throughout this process, and just to answer Commissioner Boyd's previous comment, I've been through so many different rules and regulations from private, all of municipal cemeteries within the county, outside of the county, the state of Florida, and the southeast. This contains best practices. And previously, our perpetual maintenance was just built into our fee. And if you look at our fee schedule, you'll see a little asterisk at the bottom. It actually says it includes perpetual maintenance. Now, in the private, it's usually between 5 and 15%. And that's actually in our rules and regs, which you'll see, and we can easily change the language in here. So it's still mentioned here, but it's actually in our rules and regulations where we're going to now break that out. In speaking with Ms. Brown and some other people as well in the county, some do charge the professional maintenance separate, some do not. A lot of people are doing like a one-time $50 fee, like the plot that could range from 50 all the way up to, I think, it's 1,000 something, but it's a one-time fee. So the problem is when you have about 55 to 60 burials per year in our city, if you're charging $50, a one-time $50 fee,
That's not doing it.
That's not doing anything.
Nothing.
So it's kind of like there's nothing in that count to even have any interest or anything compiled on it. So it needs to be, that's why in the past, it's always been included as part of our actual fees. As you guys know, this year, our fees increased, both resident and non-residential. And right now, we are pretty much, it's $9.50 for resident, $14.50 if you are non-resident.
And the community wants to see that doubled for
Yes.
non-residents, just so you know, they're very adamant.
Yeah, so we are, in my opinion, kind of maxed out on what we can charge per plot based on what we are offering. When you look around the county at other cemeteries, private and municipal, and what they offer as far as beautiful mausoleums, the landscaping they have, they're larger, they're actually gated, and the security they have. All of these other amenities that come with all these other places, you look at what they're charging, and we're kind of at that area where we can easily double our prices, but we're gonna price ourselves out of the market, because why would someone pay double here when they can go to a place where it's actually secluded, it's fenced in, you don't have all the foot traffic we have here, like in Pinecrest, for an example, come from Pine Street. People cut from Pine Street over to A Street, there's way too much after-hour activity in that cemetery, with fetus, okay, that's too. There's way too many cars that are parking in our cemetery that should not be in the cemetery. There are a lot of things that are happening there that, as of right now, we have not allocated funds to solve that issue. So increasing our pricing, we might see that average burial per year, that's going to decrease.
But we have limited amount of space, right? So is it kind of like we want to increase that to kind of free up the space so more residents have access to?
And part of the discussion will be, we have, there's a way that we can actually get additional plots at Pinecrest.
Without removing deceased people,
Yes.
for the record.
Yes,
Which is
basically
not legal.
I guess
Yeah.
so we do have a lot of things that we have to address like that. I don't know where and how this helps address.
This basically
It's the
updates.
resolution stuff.
Yeah, this updates, this gets us to where we need to be as far as the ordinance is concerned. And then the resolution that would follow this in May, it's going to get us to where we need to be as far as the rules and regulations are concerned.
And that's
There's
where
just a
we'll-
lot of operational things that were not actually mentioned, they're not in there correctly, and this puts the process in place that needs to be in place.
I see the city manager has her light.
Yes, I think Mr. Brown pretty much said what I was about to say, that the purpose of the ordinance is to establish the administrative responsibility of the department's role in maintaining and operating these cemeteries. And the rules and regulations pretty much separates out from the ordinance, where you would go into those day-to-day operational issues as you are so desiring. So that will be captured, some of the issues that you heard from the community and how it operates, how they maintain it, how often that takes place. Fees are separate, those are in separate documents, because those may change from day to day, but the ordinance establishes the administrative responsibility of the city, and particularly the Public Works Department, maintaining and operating the cemetery.
Thank you. So there seem to be two things that we, in this ordinance, if we're going to pass this ordinance, that we have issues with. One would be putting, identifying that the perpetual care goes on, that there's fees for the perpetual care. And also, it may also be amended from time to time by the city manager or the director of public works. With all due respect, I think
That could be
a resolution. I
Absolutely.
don't even think you could do a resolution. I mean, it has to be a resolution. So I would actually like to take that language out, take it out. I mean, it's city commission resolutions.
That makes me feel a lot more.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you, I was like, wait.
And what the goal is, just so everybody knows, I mean, the reason I started this conversation is because right now the cemeteries are not maintainable. And that gentleman spoke earlier about the city being, fiscally responsible and setting us up for success. And right now, the cemeteries aren't there. And we had some debacles that we won't talk about, but we want to make sure that those things don't happen again and that we're doing better. And that our level of service with the cemeteries is above anyone's expectations, just like all of our other services, right?
Thank you. Commissioner Boyd.
Well, yes, I hear you. I guess I'm not fully comfortable about process. I would like to see some way that we could make sure that we run some of this by both perhaps Ms. Brown, who seemed to have a lot of experience, or other people, and maybe some in the community, make sure that we're building a level of comfort that, yeah, that addresses it. The one thing that comes to mind that was mentioned, the finances of this plays a role. How much we can charge is based somewhat on what we do. The suggestion that I see that is deliberately or that is explicitly not allowed in this, it was recommended by Ms. Brown, is that we as a city do take over the lowering of the caskets. I don't, it's not my.
Jamie loves this conversation. Go ahead, Jamie.
And
I'll ask for your, I knew.
and don't, I don't know all the details, but what she said made sense in terms of the finances. And there was a reason why we outsourced that, but financially, that's a downside to us. I suspect that part of the reason 10.3B is in there is, want to get in problems, but.
Are you talking about the vaults that go in the ground?
You're referring to the vaults, the concrete vaults, that the actual casket goes in.
Well, there seem to be two aspects. One is, do we sell vaults, which means, which we don't currently. That was suggested that you might want to consider that. The other was, do you lower vaults, put them in the ground? And we don't do that. And it was suggested that financially, you may want to do both of those things because that
The funeral
would
would
help.
help that.
Yeah. So what the process is basically, if someone loses a loved one, they come to the clerk's office and they either purchase a plot from one of our cemeteries or they already own the plot and they come to basically set up.
We're going to use the plot.
Yeah, we're going to use the plot. They notify us. Then they go to a funeral home, and the funeral home is the one who does the service. They hire the vault company, which is any subcontractor of the funeral home. The vault company, after we prep the location for the service, the vault company comes out and they actually lower the concrete vault to the ground. We have the service, we lower the casket. And then after the service is over, the vault company returns and they lower the concrete lid for the vault. We don't do that because we don't own the equipment to do that kind of work. Also, the labor, we don't have enough people to do that. We're not set up, we don't have a showroom or anything like that to actually even sell caskets to sell.
We're not in the funeral business.
Yeah,
But then-
we offer the service, but the funeral home is the one who actually takes care of all that. We're just not set up to operate that way.
And then Jamie gave me a visual of that cement lid and the logistics if that lid slips.
You and I don't want to be the guys lowering that.
Well, but
He
does,
doesn't want his staff lowering it.
But does
Like if it slips.
but doesn't this say all improvements shall be made by the city at the expense of the owners? You said we're saying we don't want that.
No, that's the, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I'm just looking at 10.3B. All improvements shall be made by the city at the expense of the owners under the jurisdiction and control of the city. And shall require a permit from the office.
I think that requires the unearthing. That's unearthing.
Is that what
That's
it
not the
is?
vault.
It's not.
That's not the vault.
Okay.
That's the digging part of the dirt.
Correct. We prep all of the sites and as I was saying, the vault company actually comes and does the vault, lower the casket. And then the vault company comes back after the service is over and actually put the lid on.
And seal it.
But we don't have, we're not set up to sell caskets or vaults.
No, casket certainly not. That's sort of a separate part of it.
It requires different equipment. We would need additional equipment and everything to do that. And then we would need somewhere, if we're selling vaults, we would need
Someplace to store them.
Store them, and then that's a whole other aspect. We're just not set up currently.
Whereas right now they're brought in on a flatbed the day of the
Correct.
funeral,
Correct.
right?
I'm by no means an expert in any way, shape, or form.
I'm close to it. I will tell you that. I'm close to it because my family's in the funeral business. My best friend works for the Emmy's office and we've been researching this for, it is a year. I wish we could sell vaults and make money because then the cemeteries wouldn't be so in the hole, literally.
That was just the.
So to speak.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah,
Yeah, you plan that.
Here all night long. I'm here all night long.
it's a big moment.
I'm
Okay.
just going on what seemed to be pretty good information as far as I could tell, but I certainly haven't double checked it with 3 other people.
I will say that you are on the private side. Absolutely. You would want to either be a funeral home that does like a one-stop shop or sell. You obviously you can mark up everything you're selling. So caskets, all that. Yes, it would be a benefit on the private side. On the municipal side, our main goal is to basically break even. We want to make sure that we are making enough money to support the operation and that we are running a good
obviously doing the job.
Unless you want to go to school to learn how to do it.
No.
Sure.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
we're
I am a soil.
moving right along.
Okay.
Miss
I'm ready.
Phillips.
I'm
Oh, you've had a light
trying
on
to
for a
wrap
long
this
time. Yeah. It was-
I didn't realize how extensive all the changes were, so I did not have a chance to schedule time with you, but I want time with you on my next meeting with the city manager to dive into more detail. But as long as we change the two things we talked about, I'm okay proving this first three today, but I want to go on record that if anything comes up in our conversation in the next 2 weeks that give me pause, I will
We
say
can do
no
that.
the next time it comes back on a
We have-
second read. But that's not me trying to change my mind or anything. It's just, I need more information.
And I would encourage the rest of you guys to come to the meeting with the community so you can, I mean, it's been very vocal, and we've been very transparent with the community in regards to what they want and how do we help them get what they want.
Yeah.
Okay, so the
hopefully I'll
two
get
changes,
filled in.
okay, so
Yeah.
the two changes are taking out that terrible sentence and also adding perpetual care and maintenance to the C fees from time to time. Adding perpetual maintenance and perpetual care and maintenance to items to number C. Mr. Attorney has his hand raised.
Just wanted to double check that we never did this. So in the ordinance, we're changing on the second page, 10B, we're taking out that language.
May also be amended.
The director will take that language out about the staff can change the rules. Under C, where you have perpetual care.
And maintenance.
And maintenance.
And maintenance. Just add that.
And that's all in the ordinance. And then when you get to the rules, that also has a reference in 3 letter I, which is page 3 of the rules. In the middle, where there's also a reference to making this change by public works director manager.
Oh, thank you.
Rules as well. I want to ask a question about letter J, which says, citizens should recognize that cases may arise when strict enforcement provisions may impose necessary hardship. Therefore, the commission is delegating authority to the city manager to make exceptions when the manager finds that exceptions necessary for that hardship. So I want to make sure you're okay with that in the rules, not in the ordinance. Because you talk about some concern about staff changing the rules, but this is an event of hardship. It's only the manager, not the public works director.
You lost me where you were. I'm sorry.
Page 3I.
So page 3.
Yeah.
In the middle of the page.
No, rules. Keep going, Mayor. Keep going. Keep flipping. Keep going.
Yeah,
There's a rules page, or rules pages.
I apologize.
Talk about the other one, I thought about some of these.
Yeah, I appreciate
it.
And page 3 you send?
So it's page.
Yeah, so
3.
that should, well, that's going to be in the rules in the resolution.
Right, so this is the rules of resolution, so you might as well see that now. 'cause it's
Yeah.
Coming back on May 12. So it says, you're recognizing that in cases where the enforcement of these rules imposes necessary hardship, you're delegating the manager with the authority to make exceptions when she finds that it's necessary to prevent that hardship.
Like if we have a hurricane, but they were scheduled to do maintenance, is that what we're referring
Now,
to?
what would a hardship be? I wonder.
Or the hardship?
Undue hardship or financial, I mean, what does it pertain to? The fee that they get charged, or when they get buried?
There have been, not many, but there have been situations in the past where there's been a financial hardship by a resident that was having an issue. Obviously, something happened. They're having to bury a loved one. And we made an exception to extend the amount of payments that they could do.
People can pay it off in payments?
Yeah. So
After the burial.
normally it's a down payment, and then you would have the 2 following payments. It's basically three equal payments.
So the first one is done at the time of the burial, and the last 2 are after the burial.
Well, in
Perfect world.
it would all be paid up front.
Okay, but we do have,
One reason I think we're suggesting this is because I don't think you really want to have a public meeting where you're talking about Ms. Jones having a financial hardship.
Yeah.
No.
So that's why, that's kind of a sensitive area, and I think it's a good idea, but it's not my role.
But this is a very-
of course, my lawyer's mind is talking about remedies
Right, I know.
if they don't pay.
Is there a way to clear this up, to be more specific? Because that's in the case of a financial hardship. I don't know if it's like,
I mean, we could add something that says the manager would report to the commission, not through an agenda item, whenever she makes that kind of a call, which is Jamie says, very rare.
Yeah, it doesn't happen that often.
It's not.
And if it gets to the point where you feel it's being abused, you can always change the rules.
As long as we know what's going on.
As long as you know.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Commissioner,
But again, part of this process is, through the ordinance and through the rules and regulations, making sure that things that have popped up like this in the past, that we now have it actually in the rules and regulations. And it's not coming on the fly where I'm now coming to the city manager.
Right.
We have this situation where like, we don't really have anything in
authority.
writing anywhere. So you're kind of on the fly trying to figure out what to do. So we're making sure we're covering all ends with this updated ordinance and regulations.
Commissioner Lee.
Page 6, I circled letter C because I read it like 7 times. And the only thing I couldn't understand is it says just as with city parks, cemetery hours are from dawn to dusk. Makes sense. Arrangements for interment shall be made between the hours of 8 a.m. and 2:59 p.m. Monday through Friday, excluding city observed holidays. And I kept rereading that and it makes me feel as if those are the only days and times that I could come to City Hall to make arrangements for a funeral. But that's not what it's really saying. It's really saying that that's when the funerals can take place. Correct?
No.
Okay.
Because when you look at our fee schedule, you'll see the fees for weekdays and Saturday and Sunday.
But that's for the actual funeral.
That's the actual funeral.
But the way I read this, it makes it sound like the person has to come to City Hall between 8 a.m. and 3 o'clock to make the arrangements for the funeral.
Well, the arrangements for the funeral, all you're doing is basically
Paying for the plot and,
you're paying for the plot. So what that's saying is if you're going to come in and pay for the plot or whatever you're doing, if you're purchasing a vault, that could be done, or not a vault, in urn, we sell the little urn cases, but that could be done during that time frame. The actual funeral home is the one who contacts us with the date and time and everything.
but you only want, by 3 p.m., if they came at 4 o'clock to schedule a funeral, they couldn't do it?
Depending on, we did that because of the hours of the clerk's office. I mean, if you come at 6 o'clock, City Hall's closed.
No, but it says 8 to 2:59. That's why it was very random, like very 2:59. I was like,
Madam Clerk?
we just kick everybody out at 3?
301.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Is it the
Yes, we end our day at 2:59 every day. It's just nobody told me that. We're there till 5 p.m. Where our hours are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Would we want someone to come in at 5 p.m. to start doing all this? We prefer not, but if they did, we wouldn't turn them away.
How about 4 o'clock?
That would be great because it does take some time. We need information.
Yeah, I would like to see
For
that
the
because
deed,
then
et
it says
cetera.
it says if they come from 3 to 5, we're going to charge them an extra fee. And I'm like, they're already facing hardship.
No, that's different. No, that's.
But I think Commissioner Maleg is right. There's some confusion there. Does this refer to the scheduling of the actual event? Or does this refer coming to City Hall?
And paying
Plan
them.
the whole thing.
Right.
It exists.
That was-
Of opening and closing graves.
So just, I kept rereading and I'm like, could we make it simpler language or am I really reading it right that we want people here by 2:59?
Well, fortunately, this is going to be part of the resolution that's going to come back to us. So this is kind of a draft. So I think we're saying between 8 and 4 to come.
To make arrangements.
To buy the plot, to make arrangements. And then, and there is, I mean, because on Saturdays and Sundays, no, we don't do burials on Sundays, but.
Yeah, we do. There's an additional.
What's the schedule?
Oh, the additional, right.
I think it's the pay.
I mean, and that's because we have to bring in workers.
No.
Correct,
Yeah.
and that's all broken out in the schedule
Right.
fees where it's,
Yeah.
weekdays before 3 o'clock.
So it's based on reality.
weekdays
It's
after
okay.
Saturday, so yeah, so those are all.
Okay,
different.
so.
And then number 4 too says discernment, this internments shall be scheduled Monday through Friday from 8 to 2:59. Can we change that to 4 as well? Number
Well,
4.
that's different. That's not coming, okay, that's a disinterment. That's not going to the clerk's office.
But it says shall be scheduled. So that's where I'm confused.
It's a little confusing. I agree. But I think it should be, I mean, if with the Public Works Department, disinterment shall be scheduled. I mean, you're saying you want to unbury somebody before 3 o'clock. It's not the clerk's office, it's your staff.
We can clean up the language.
Would you-
This is basically,
This is a
you're
draft.
coming in to schedule.
Yeah.
Like if there's a disinterment or
Right.
anything, we're looking at basically business hours. But as the clerk was saying, we don't want someone coming in at basically 4:50
Right.
to start this process. There's paperwork involved, there's usually payment, there's a lot of things that have to happen.
Maybe if we just sometimes add the disinterment shall be made with the city clerk or at the city clerk's office. So that might end some of the.
Or disinterment arrangements shall be scheduled, like the actual
Our
arranging.
city attorney is gonna come up.
This is not clear. We need to clean this up because
Right.
obviously it's
We're getting-
Saturday and it clerk's not here on Saturday. So I
Okay.
think the intent of this was, as the manager, I was talking, letter C is a scheduling of opening and closing graves. I'm thinking that
Right.
at the time that the graves can be opened and closed is between
On
8
site.
and 3 p.m. And if it's going to be between 3 and 5, it's more expensive.
Correct, and then that's what's broken out in fee schedule.
Right, and I think we would make that clear here.
Right, this-
Because it's saying that the arrangements need to be done between those hours
All
too.
right.
Right, that's
I
why.
think that we made it really clear that we need a language in the clearing up of this resolution.
Right.
But let's go back to what we're supposed to be doing, with, the action that we're supposed to take, which is passing of this ordinance. With the changes, do you still have your light on?
I do. One thing, and maybe it comes in the resolution and the fees. But something that came up in the discussion with the community is you have people who are longtime families in the area, but now no longer live here. Should they be considered non-residents? Or should there be three categories? People who have nothing to do with Lake Worth, never did, never will, but they want to be buried here for whatever reason, price is right. And people who no longer live, the family no longer lives here, but has a long historical connection.
And how do they prove, I mean, they come,
So they're, so they're currently residents or?
no, they're not
No,
residents, but
not
they have moms
currently
buried here.
What has happened, from what I understood, is there are people who, the families were here a long time. They've since moved to other places, maybe Palm Beach County or whatever, but they still have a connection to the community. They would technically be non-residents, but because of their long family history, I would think we might want to think in the fee schedule that that's an intermediate category between somebody who has no connection to the community, that's clearly a non-resident, and somebody who no longer lives here but does have a historical connection. How do you prove it? I don't know.
And how do you, what's a connection?
And a lot of those older families have bought.
I was gonna
like
say that-
17,
Some have,
18
some
plots.
haven't.
So
And I think that that would be, a-
just don't think,
Do we have a hardship fund? So if this is all about economic hardship and so the benefit of being labeled a resident is to get the lower rate, or somebody who has an economic hardship and we want to just waive the fee, or do we just put some money in a pot somewhere and we leave it up to the discretion of the city manager and they loop all the commission in? And if there's somebody who has a strong connection to Lake Worth but doesn't live here and they want to apply, maybe there's some sort of process that they can apply to get access to these. There's a lot of hardship funds in a lot of organizations.
all they have to just pay, I mean,
So-
they're allowed.
and Ted, when we looked at how many people were buried here, resident versus non-resident, we're less than 18% penetration of Lake Worth Beach residents.
Yeah, I think we
Right,
should
so a
keep
lot
it
of
clear.
non-
Less than, that's what I'm saying, it's less than 18%, so for our residents, I think that there's always a way for us to work things out. I hear what you're saying, like with the hardship fund, but the majority of people who use our cemeteries are outside community members who just use it because it's cheap.
And that was one of the concerns that I heard from people that do have a connection is, are we losing space to people who have no connection to Lake Worth and
But
whatnot?
it's business, so.
I don't know how to solve all these things, but I'm just
You don't?
raising some of the issues that,
Well,
they did seem like reasonable issues.
yeah.
that we ought to-
My thought is to keep it fairly clear. I mean, we're not, even our rates, I think, are probably low, we're at the low end of the rates anyway. So if they wanted to, I just think that's getting complicated. What's the connection? My grandmother's buried there. Okay, so you get even though you live in Illinois, you get a resident rate? No. No, I don't think so.
Motion to approve with the,
Okay, do we have any public comments, Madam Clerk?
We do
Matt?
not, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
motion to approve with the 2 changes and language cleanup of the rules and regulations.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are you nay?
No,
Oh,
I said
okay.
He eyed.
But
Aye.
I would, a similar comment to Mr. Stokes that I want to look at this a bit more and possibly.
Well, it sounds like we want to. Alrighty then, now we have. Would you, do you want to take that?
We're on new business, Madam Mayor.
I'm sorry?
Fine.
We're on new business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. But more importantly, we have a request for a bathroom break.
Only for non-residents.
Only for non-residents. So it's 8:24. Come back at 8:30, 6 minutes?
6 minutes.
Okay, we're adjourned until 8:30. All right.
I think the visual makes a difference.
Okay, we're back on.
Yes, Madam Mayor, it is 8:29 and we are back.
Why is our clock wrong?
It's 8:29.
Oh, Mr. Velez, I looked at you in the back and I thought to myself, gee, okay, please come up. This is about, all right. My apologies. This is public under, he did submit a card and I did. And why would I ignore our most active citizens?
Thank you.
You're on.
We're approaching our 110 years in Lake Worth, as well as Calvary's first baptisms. We'll see if Lakeside at our church will pick that up. But they're also in their heartbreak of a terrible accident there, and someone was killed. It's amazing. So hopefully the city will acknowledge our 110 years coming up.
When?
It would be April, was that 11 through 14, which the lots were being auctioned. And then everyone was coming into downtown area, or what would be at 12. And then by 13, they charged. So.
I'm confused. Is this a one day, an event that you're talking about?
I'm wondering if the city will acknowledge the 110 years coming up.
Of the Lake Worth First Baptist?
Well, I mean, no.
When you say
the city incorporated, that's just one of the feats that took place. That was Perry McCallahan, who was a reverend, which was a Spanish-American War hero and came into the community.
Through the Baptist, it was the Baptist church.
Actually, it's a baptism of a child from.
Oh, first baptism. Okay, there we go.
At Calvary United Methodist Church.
Thank you. Okay.
We're linked to Osborne and Blossom, which were a surveying company, which are also related to a senator in Florida. So they're well aware of Lake Worth region, that it was such a prosperous area. That's why Lake Osborne is named Lake Osborne and Blossom Road in Lantana. So they're aware of this area and they were related to that family. We have American Gothic, which is the OSL, our Savior Lutheran Chapel, which we just found the blueprints of it. It's a Sherman Childs building.
Okay.
And that explains the kind of almost deco-ish, even though it's Gothic. And probably the 4 Gothic buildings in Lake Worth that we know of that hasn't covered, which would be Calvary, the old A-frame is actually a modern version of Gothic. Darton 8 architecture with the arches, and the Lake Osborne Presbyterian Church is more of a classical Gothic built in the 80s, and also a very diluted deco Gothic would be the 800 block of North Dixie, which is the Nazarene Church, which had been American or the Christian Alliance Church built by. And so that's something we'll be enjoying. Our Savior Lutheran is in its 95th anniversary, which is March 13th of this year. We also reached back into 2022, which was 1922, which was the Rink, Reverend Rink was a Lutheran minister that owned a New Jersey hotel.
That's the harshest sound.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, Mr. Velez, I would like to talk to you about this, but what you're looking for us to do. I mean, you're saying acknowledge it, but I mean,
Well,
more specific.
we worked together on the centennial.
Yep.
And that was fun.
It was.
Got it going. And I think the 110th year is a relevant anniversary for the
Okay,
city.
so why don't you put your phone number on this piece of paper and give it to me so that we can talk on the phone and talk about it.
All right.
That's great.
You're
Thanks.
such a good party planner.
I love it.
I know you do.
I love a good centennial. But they're so seldom, come on. Thank you, Mr. Velez, and I apologize for skipping over you on that one. Back to the agenda. We are now on new business A, which is a contract with Lambert Brothers. Do we have a staff report? Public Works?
Good evening.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jamie Browning, Public Works Director. So the existing handrail that's currently out on the beach along the boardwalk is completely dilapidated, and we have band-aided it so many times that we've gotten to the point where it just needs to be replaced. So what we're bringing forward here is we have budgeted $125,000 to replace it with an aluminum handrail. And basically it will pick up where the existing aluminum handrail leaves off. And then you have the wooden rail that goes to the rest of the beach. It basically starts right there at the pool and then runs all the way south to our property line, south end.
Okay.
And I will say that the existing aluminum fence that has all the vertical members in it, that will not be the same railing that's going on this.
So the white that's there now is going to stay?
Correct. The aluminum fencing that's there now that stops at the pool building, that goes to our north end of the pool building. That is there because of when you have more than a 4-foot drop, you have to have the vertical members there on the rail.
Okay. Do I see a question from Mr. McBoy?
I'm not an expert in this either.
But I will. That's going to be our.
That's a disclaimer before every single time.
I'm not an expert in a lot of things, so I can use it a lot.
When did that ever stop you?
Couple of comments or thoughts and questions for my fellow commissioners. If I'm thinking of the same thing, what I see in my head, and I didn't have a chance to go up there and have a look, but I believe I see a green painted wooden.
That's correct.
Thing with I don't know whether it's a 6-inch or an 8-inch top board on it now. That probably has shown some signs of wear. I also see people sitting on that a good deal. Romantic partners, people taking pictures, whatever. Probably have even seen, cover your eyes, attorney, people walking on it. But I may not have. I have. But that's a very visible part of the beach thing, and it's all surrounded by more or less native vegetation right there. I would feel a whole lot more comfortable in my own, just my own personal opinion, with something wooden and maybe painted, maybe not painted, but something wooden in among the vegetation rather than something more industrial looking there. Now, I don't know anything about the things that you know about, which are the constraints of ADA and this and that and the other, but assuming that those constraints could be dealt with, I would be much more in favor of something a little low key, a little rustic, or a little fitting in more with the original design of that area and the dune vegetation, which there is some fairly decent native vegetation mixed in with that, and the visual. That's just my preference.
Thank you. Good idea.
1 of 5.
Commissioner Malega.
This was budgeted in capital improvements from last year?
Correct. So we had $125,000.
And you came in under?
And you came in at 89.
Okay, but it was part of the CIP from last year.
That's correct.
Okay.
And what we, depending on if we run into any unforeseen issues or not, we would look to then, if possible, do the north side of the pier, basically from where this railing leaves off right now, and then take it up to the gate where you'd go through if you're not allowed to fish in here. And then handle the other side in the next year's CIP.
On the actual pier?
On the actual pier itself. Because that needs to be done.
Commissioner McVoy, I think that was, I liked your comment. To the public, Commissioner McVoy and I have an ongoing chit chat, lovely, loving discussion about.
Like twin brother, sister up here, I swear.
So
Twin.
I guess my question, maybe our question is, could we see I mean, not in public, but could we see what it's going to look like? I mean, is it set in stone what it has to look like, or could we be a little more?
We looked at it strictly from an ADA standpoint. We followed DOT standard. We want to make sure we were adherent to ADA because what's there now.
Could it be wood?
Compliant. As far as the wood is concerned, we also looked at it from a maintenance standpoint. And what's going to last the longest and probably just not to have to constantly be out there painting and repairing like we're currently doing with the one that's out there right now.
But you're thinking of another white fence that you can't see the ocean through?
Well, it's not white, it's aluminum. It's not white.
That's not painted aluminum?
No, we're not going with painted aluminum white.
But I would,
Okay, let's leave it at this.
If that's the direction, obviously we can look at other options, but I mean, we may, especially, we might exceed what we had budgeted for this particular.
I think I would feel a lot more comfortable seeing a visual of what it looks like before we approve it, especially because it's quite a bit of money. And it is such
So
a
visible.
visual part of the experience of being at the beach.
Yeah, I hate that white vertical. You can't, you look at the fence, you don't see the ocean behind it
Or the vegetation.
or the vegetation. Commissioner Diaz.
Yeah, I'm gonna not necessarily assume, but think that the high cost is because of the high cost of aluminum. So, you know, to kind of echo McBoy's comment, my question is like, what exactly is the ADA saying about the railing? Like, why couldn't you have, you know, like either like a living fence, right? Something that's based on plants, something that's going to prevent people from traversing it, you know, with certain kinds of plants or.
It's a particular height. It's also, if you have on the other side of that railing, a drop off of more than 4 feet, you have to have those vertical members there. So that if you have smaller kids, they can't actually fall through, because if you just have like a single horizontal bar, a kid could still fall over and then.
Right.
But it's doomed. It doesn't have any sharp fall offs.
But not that entire
part.
Except
I think the sad comment here, though, really is when the original, the ones that we're talking about, the one going across Closer Park, maybe people were smarter then. Now we have to, I mean, really, if there's a train and the arm goes, don't drive around it.
But we also have to remember, we have to be mindful that we don't want to get frivolous lawsuits.
No, of course we have to follow ADA. We have to follow ADA, but and I think perhaps maybe if you two have a conversation, then he could define it a little bit more for you in private. Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah, I'd say let's not decide on it now. Let's look at some different options, because it's a big chunk of money and it's such a visual part. And I think all of us have some, let's look at some.
Do you have a motion?
We can bring back some options.
A motion? To table?
A motion to table.
Come on. Do I have a second?
Until the next meeting? Because I don't want to table indefinitely.
Yeah,
Well, I'll get with the city manager, because we'll have to get
a couple
contractors back out there again. We'll have to look at pricing, get different options, and then come back with some multiple. I would like to provide multiple options if that's the direction you guys want to go.
Yeah.
So we can look at each, and each will be obviously ADA compliant.
Right.
And then also have those price points, so you'll understand
Sure.
if it fits the budget or not.
Right, no, that's perfectly, so we're gonna, do I have a motion? I mean, do I have a vote?
A second.
I thought I had a second.
I didn't hear a second, Madam Mayor.
I was on top of that one. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, so is it motion to table until a proposal can be brought back?
I believe that's it.
Okay.
I can't guarantee I can get all that done by the next meeting. So I would.
Yeah, the packet's going out Thursday for April 19th.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, for keeping us on track. All right, thank you. I think those are good points. I was that white fan. Okay, then. Well, then, here we go. Ordinance number 7-2022. Mr. Attorney, will you please read the title?
Ordinance number 07/2022, ordinance of the city commission of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending chapter 20. Civil rights by creating article 3, landlord tenant notice requirement, section 20-20, notice determination of monthly residential tenancy without specific duration, and section 20-21, written notification requirements related to rental payment increases for all residential tenancies to require 60-day written determination of tenancies and increases in rental rates, severability, conflicts, constipation, and the effective date.
Thank you. And I'm assuming, Mr. Attorney, that since you have drafted this, you've written for us, we're not going to get in trouble. This is something we could do. Always that we haven't been preempted for this.
We believe that you can still do this. Obviously, this is a new approach. First dealing with, we had this conversation several months ago. And we gave first adopted something like this, and the position is that we're not regulating rents if you adopt this, but you're providing notice requirements and so many days notice So if you don't have a lease, if you're simply a month-to-month tenant, you've got to provide the notice you guys agree on tonight. The landlord has to provide that. And if you are going to impose a rent increase within a certain amount, whether it's 5% or 10%, then notice, you have to give notice. So that's, I think, really your policy decisions. If you do this bad, is what's that percentage of increase and how many days notice?
We've got here 5% in 60 days.
Right, that's the Miami-Dade version. And I think Tampa was considering this. I think Orange County and another county. I know Legal Aid has talked to Commissioner McBernard of Palm Beach County. So this is getting a lot of buzz. A lot of people are looking at it. No litigation yet to determine whether it's legal. There's Attorney General opinions from a few years back that say cities can do things like this.
Great, thank you. And this is, I see lights going on all over the place, except from Mr. McVoy. Madam Clerk, do you have public comment cards?
I have 7, Madam Mayor.
Okay, and I have a few up here. How do we want to handle this? Do we want to listen to the public comment cards first before we do any motions or any, because obviously we all have a lot to say about this one way or the other. So you want to do public comment cards first? Okay. Madam Clerk, would you, is that okay? Yeah. Madam Clerk, would you start?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'll be happy to.
Wait 1 second. Ms. Davis has some input.
I'm
So
sorry.
I'm so sorry.
As now the keeper of time, I just wanted to be reminded, is there a 2-minute or 3-minute limit on the comments for?
2.
All items are 2, Madam City Manager.
Okay,
It's only
just wanted
public
to-
participation that is 3.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure because I know that the public will see now 2 minutes and I want to make sure we were clear. Thank you so much.
Loves her timer.
You're welcome. And my comments are rather short, so I'm not going to be timing them. They're not 2
Okay, let me
minutes.
set up.
Okay.
Hold on.
Carry on.
All right, ready.
Okay, first one.
Okay, you don't have to time mine, Madam City Manager, because they're really short. So the first is from Sue Welsh, 1331 North Palmway, who wrote in favor of the ordinance. The next comment is by Blue Kaufman, 401 South Lakeside Drive, Apartment 6. My partner and I are in our 20s and we both work full-time jobs. We would like to build a life and continue renting in Lake Worth Beach. Of course, this will mostly depend on rent increases since we do not want to be rent burdened. While this doesn't fully address the magnitude of how unaffordable rent is in South Florida right now, I strongly support these very reasonable requirements and appreciate the commission standing with everyday people who live and work here. The next comment is from Dana Torrey, 631 North J Street. To start, I want to thank the commission for bringing forth this relief effort to protect families from exploitative practices we are seeing in our cities as a result of the pandemic's impact on real estate. I fully support this initiative and look forward to seeing this commission dramatically expand on more rent stabilization initiatives in combination with other measures to provide equitable and affordable housing. The next comment is from Sienna Mayers, 429 North D Street. I support Ordinance 7 requiring landlords to give 60-day notice on any rent increases above 5%. 5% plus. Rent prices are out of control in South Florida right now, and it is negatively impacting the lives of individuals, families, and the quality of life in our community as a whole. As a teacher at a family literacy program, we are losing students left and right because their landlords are raising their rent, so they have to take second and third jobs. There's a serious crisis going on, and the very least thing we could do is give families notice of a rent increase. Next step is to keep Lake Worth affordable for all. The next comment is from Dami Farrell, 1134 19th Avenue North. Ordinance 7, I can't believe that you are actually questioning whether people deserve to know when their rent is being increased, when what you should actually be doing is voting to stop all increases in rent. Almost everyone I know is struggling to pay rent, and more neighbors are getting evicted every month. It sure seems like your real agenda at these city council meetings is to force poor people out of Lake Worth. Next comment is Noam Brown, 1701 North D Street. I support Ordinance 7 requiring landlords to provide a 60-day notice for any rent increase above 5%. This is not necessarily the ultimate answer to the housing crisis, but it is a necessary step. The city, meanwhile, can also recognize the impact of this housing crisis on our residents and declare an emergency so that rent control measures can be put into place. And the last comment I have is from Peggy Darling, 1701 North D Street. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm writing in support of Ordinance 7-2022, which would require landlords to give a fair notice of 60 days to tenants before increasing their rent above 5%. In addition, please remember that housing is a human right first and foremost, and should not be seen merely as a capital venture. People's lives are in the balance. I urge you to explore declaring an emergency so that rent control can be enacted in Lake Worth Beach. Thank you for your consideration. That is the end of the comments that I have received.
Thank you, ma'am. We have some up here. Suki Jong. If I pronounce that incorrectly, okay. Not bad.
I live at 502 20th Avenue North. And yeah, I'm facing this very problem. My landlord has sold the house that I'm renting. I've rented it for 3 years. And the new landlord is more than likely going to raise my rent. Yeah. So this would be great, and I would support this. And I'm also hoping that we can have the emergency rents enacted. Get some kind of rent control in Lake Worth Beach, be a good neighbor, be a city that shows that we can do it, that we're leading the pack in that. I think Miami has already done this. Anyway.
Thank you. Joe Marcus? J. Canella? I'm having a little trouble reading. Is there anybody here that? Jay left. Okay. Daniel Morgan.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good to see you.
Madam Mayor. Daniel Morgan. I live at 331 South J Street, apartment 4. And I just wanted to come here tonight to express my support and commend the commission for this very sensible step towards bringing stability to the rental market and the lives of renters in our city. I think this, paired with the legal aid partnership that the city has established, we're really moving towards the right direction towards bringing stability, which is one of like the key factors in maintaining neighborhood health, which, evictions is a costly matter, and there are no winners in an eviction. So I think this is very sensible, and I look forward to seeing more of these types of projects coming out of the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Barb Lilly. Barb Lilly, is she gone?
She wanted it red.
Oh, she wanted it red.
Sorry.
Well, thanks for telling me. Okay. This is Barbara Lilly, North 717 North D Street. Thank you. Why not liaise with other government departments in order to expand housing vouchers? Perhaps rent stabilization should be paid through less tax credits. Thank you. Michael Chase Fox.
Madam Mayor Resch, I don't know if that's alliterative or just rolls out, but it sounds great.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Earlier tonight, my husband Ron Fox, by the way, 1521 North D Street. We arrived and this place feels different.
Can't hear it.
It feels much
You need to
different.
speak up a little bit. There you go.
There you go. Okay. It's gonna sound strange coming from me, but I don't think this is a good measure at all. It's a half measure. We have problems that have plagued this city because we've gotten away from home ownership. I recently did a public records request on the list of properties that this city has a lien on. It's 900. The file was so big, you couldn't send it. I had to go pick up the disk. How can anybody even enter the market if they're facing that and they want to live here, right? And you don't want to impact small investors. This city isn't full of massive apartment complexes. It's We need to go back to ADU discussion. We need to revisit that. We need to promote more affordable housing also for small investors without, pushing them away. That this is just a half measure. And I'm gonna say something critical that we all know what half measures are. And this is like almost reactionary rather than thoughtful. And in finding out what's going on in this city, we just see price tags, but there's problems that are leading up to that need to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. James Finnegan?
He left.
He left. Does he want to be read?
Yes, please.
Okay. James Finnegan, 224 North Ocean Breeze. Government is overreaching on this issue. Would the city ever commit to a 10-year moratorium raising utilities and property taxes? Highly doubtful. Thank you. And our last card is from Ken Yodi, and I never had this yet. Soltis?
Pretty good.
All right. I'm pretty good tonight. I've reached my plateau.
All right.
You get that, sure.
I did submit a comment online and it didn't come up. I don't know if I like passed the minute mark or something, 5:46, but I got an email confirming it. So if there's a technical matter there, then
We'll check. I think the clerk is listening, so she'll
okay.
find out.
Yeah, maybe check that out.
Okay.
Okay, so just want to reiterate.
Address.
Oh, thank you. 822 North C Street, Padioti Cholkas. This is a very basic step in addressing the urgent matter. I think it's the majority of people in this city are renters. I can't remember the statistic. Is it 60% of dwellings are rental or 60-some% of people are renters? But in any case, it's, it can't be, I think, understated how important and basic this, something like this would be, and really a step in the right direction, but a very kind of initial baby step. I would like to know what the enforcement mechanism will be to make sure that it's properly applied and actually as strong as we need it to be. And I'd also like to hear what the obstacle to declaring the emergency order in order to enact a stronger position before start losing more people. I think we're seeing it. People are talking about it here, but as all of a sudden the demographic shift that a previous commission was heralding as like some sort of progress could happen a lot faster than most of us pay attention to, especially if we have stable housing. And all of a sudden you look around, the neighbors that you've known for years, some for decades who've been renting here, get priced out. And I think I hear people talk like this normalized kind of like super real estate greed thing going on, or people are like, oh, just buy something and then you can sell it next year. Buy something you can't afford and then rent it to someone else who can't afford it and then sell it next year. And it's just like, sounds like people are talking about like cryptocurrency investments, but they're actually talking about investing in properties in the city. And there's no way that you can have a stable, healthy, social environment where people are just treating this city as like kind of real estate pawns in a game. For those of us who live here and have investment in the sense of community and family, I think we need to really step up and do more than what's on this ordinance.
Thank you. Thank you. All righty then. Do we have a motion and a second before we have discussion? Let's have a motion in a second, so we know where we're going. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
So a second by Commissioner Malega. Okay, now we can talk. So whoever had their light on, let's go by districts. Let's just go by districts because everybody's light went on.
Okay, I have a lot to say on this. I understand both sides of this point. I understand that we have inflation and that landlords have expenses that are rising. I get that. But I also know that we are facing, again, a rising economy where groceries are going up and gas is going up. But guess what? Employers aren't raising their wages to compensate. So in doing a lot of research on this, Pinellas County already has written in their rules and regulations that every yearly term requires a 60-day notice regardless of eviction, regardless of renewal, regardless of increase. It's just 60 days. They don't have a 30-day rule, which I really like. State of California has a 60 days if more than 10%. So I've been looking at this in all kinds of different ways. I went down the rabbit hole of state of emergency, called Christie today. to which I was reminded that that would also lead to us having to have a referendum. So my bigger concern is, yes, I'm in favor. I think we need to take that 5% up to 10, because if you're paying $1,500 a month and your rents increased 5%, that's only $75. And when you look at the scale of inflation and the cost of things that are going up, I have to think as a business owner, that's minimal, $75 on a $1,500, if that's what your rent is. On the flip side, we have to be mindful that State Bill 620 just passed that says local businesses can sue the city for any ordinance that we pass that affects them in a negative way of 15%. So we have a lot of landlords in the city and a lot of landlords who have big rental properties that they could turn around and they could sue us if we pass this State Bill 620.
It goes into effect July 1st, correct? So we'd be okay.
Well, if this gets
It's
passed.
not retroactive.
What's that?
It's not retroactive to.
But we could also, if we did get a notice from a landlord, we could then turn around and we could revisit this to avoid the lawsuit. So it's just, there's a big balancing act. We also have 439 homeless children in our schools total. So, I mean, this is a hard conversation. I'm in favor of it, but I really think we need to look at that 5% increase and go to 10. I think that that's more in fairness. And the 60 days, I think is fair in both regards. I mean, it's a hard step that we're trying to take. We can't do the state of emergency because then we go into referendum and all other kinds of conversations, but I'm in favor of approving this. Again, making sure we keep an eye on the Senate bill, that we don't start getting sued by certain entities that are out there, and I won't say names. But I would like to see this go to 10%.
Commissioner McBoy.
Thank you for doing the research and confirming that a number of other communities already are happy with the 60-day notice. I have no problem with moving to that. I was alarmed to find that it was only 15 days. So 60 is reasonable. I certainly agree with a number of the comments that have been made along the way that this is definitely not the full measure. It does not address the full problem that we have here. I very much agree with the comment that we are at risk of changing a lot the flavor of our community if we can't do something about it. I personally don't see that in terms of thinking about the bigger issue and other steps that we might take, a referendum does not intimidate me as far as, it's a hurdle, but it's not an insurmountable hurdle. Clearly the criteria of a state of emergency, I think you can make a pretty good argument that we meet that criteria. And in terms of the concern that landlords and owners of buildings have price increases, I totally get that. Same way that I've spoken in favor of periodically we need to raise the rates on water because the expenses to run a water utility go up about 3% a year. 3% for landlords, I don't know whether it's 3% or it's 5%. It certainly is not the 50% raises that we're seeing or higher. So I'm not sympathetic to the argument that these are simply passing on the costs. There is a lot more going on here that doesn't need to be going on. And I think it is reasonable and appropriate for government to step in and protect people who don't otherwise have any. Rent controlled properties in New York City, you're very familiar with those, I think, from your previous lives in the place that
One of your previous
lives, that those are a very important part of making sure what kind of a community that is. So I definitely support this ordinance and hope that we will not stop here, that we will continue to look at other ways that we can be even more proactive.
Thank you. Commissioner Stokes.
I have a few things. Orange County is doing 5% or the rate of inflation, whichever is less. So that's more strict
Right.
than just 5% because so I'm in favor of keeping it at 5%. I mean, this isn't a punishment. I think there's like this conception that we're trying to use is to punish landlord. This is basic decency. Before you take somebody's place where they can sleep and their kids can sleep away from them, give them some notice. I mean, I would go as far as California and say, everybody has to give 60-day notice. We're doing this because we're seeing these major increases, and this is what we feel like we can do to help. But I don't want anybody to think that this is a punishment. This is just decent practices for renters. So I don't think we need to up the amount. I too am not afraid of having to go to a referendum. We just put 4 charter amendments on the last ballot and asked people to vote for things. We have asked people to vote to increase the height limit so that a Gulfstream Motel can be successful. I think asking voters to consider rent control so people can have one of their basic rights met isn't totally unreasonable. I look forward to more conversations with all the hurdles. I don't think that's the only one. But I'm in favor of this as is. And I know we will keep talking about, for everybody who's here and took the time to write a public comment card, we are going to be talking about affordable housing. We are going to be talking about longer term things that we can do as well. So I think this is a good first step. I'm very excited that we can follow the example of Miami and other counties around Florida that are taking this.
Thank you. You know, do you realize the referendum would have to be renewed every year?
Oh, I know.
Commissioner Diaz.
Yeah, I mean, to reiterate Commissioner Stokes on that, it's not a punishment. This is a protection of rights. And I heard one of the comments mention how housing should be a fundamental right, and I 100% belong in that camp. And let's be realistic, there's a substantial amount of the population here in Lake Worth are going to be disproportionately affected by these kinds of rent increases. You know, big highlight is oral agreement rentals, the month-to-month things, often usually paid in cash. You know, let's be real, that's largely our Central American or immigrant community that's going to be affected by those kinds of rent increases. We see it happening often. And it's something that, you know, we need to take on to help protect this community. State statute has a 15-day notice. That is just woefully inadequate. 15 days is obviously never enough to not only secure a new place to live, but also what we're seeing in today's market, first, last, double security deposit. We're often looking at move-in costs of $5,000. And, you know, most of our community is not going to have that lying around. So this ordinance is certainly a good step. It's one step of many. I heard a lot of good comments on, you know, focusing on ADUs, on housing inventory. Those are for sure in the works, I would say. We're definitely discussing that and we're working on that. But this is a good, sensible, as Mr. Morgan pointed out, first step in protecting our renters' rights. 60 days, you know, to come up with $5,000 is often a lot, especially if you're an immigrant or first generation. And I support this. I still support this ordinance the way it's written. 5% is a good value. But one thing that I would love to discuss and consider as we move on with this ordinance is what steps are we going to do to notify people of these rights? Because an ordinance is only so good if, you know, it can be enforced, but also if people understand that they can take action. So we really need to make an effort to notify, you know, all communities, our Spanish speakers, our Mayan speakers, our Creole speakers, notify them that this is available to them no matter their immigration status and what their, you know, options are if they find themselves in this situation.
Yeah, and that's an important point. I try to think, how can we communicate? And I think, and I've talked about having a handbook, and I've not done it, and I can't ask staff to do it because they're so busy. You know, if you come to get your electricity turned on, here's your pamphlet, here's your rights as a tenant, you know, because a lot of them will be tenants. But in the meantime, if they already have their you know, if they're already hooked on. Commissioner, you have another comment before I make a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to, somebody had asked about how are we going to notify? I asked staff the same thing, and one of the things that they've talked about, so I said, how are you going to notify the landlords of this new rule? They said through the BTR renewals and the licensing process. Well, that's great for the landlords, but again, how are we going to, I would love for us to look at LaGuardia News, you know, doing it like, doing that, them.
He's an expert. It's okay.
He's an expert in that, yes. But I would love to see us back staff and say, okay, we can allocate additional funds to take out or have them do an editorial piece on the importance of this and letting our community know their rights. I will gladly go on the Haitian radio station next Saturday and go over this if we pass it and let them communicate that to the Creole community.
2 readings. Wait till it's passed.
That's what I'm saying. When we pass the reading. So I just think that we really have to be mindful of getting the education out. And I would urge my colleagues to think about increasing it from 5%. Maybe we can meet in the middle at 7%. I just know that I do have a rental property. Inflation is happening, and it's not unreasonable for a landlord to increase rent to keep up with the offset of some of the expenditures. So just if you guys can give more thought to that, that's all.
Commissioner Stokes.
Just back to the communication of renters' rights. We did start a partnership with Legal Aid and some of the things that they do in other communities, they do put on workshops.
Yes.
And so I'd like us to revisit having that, and maybe, you know, we have such a wonderful library that's just itching to like get more programs there, and maybe we can have something, but then we really need to take on letting people know about the workshop. But I think there's a lot that we can do. And this is the kind of thing I think ARPA money is meant to do. And we can definitely set aside some money for promotion and outreach and get the message out there, and it will help. They'll know about all their rights.
One of the challenges that I think we've all found is, as we came up here, is getting how to get word out to everybody. You can put it on Facebook, you can put it in the paper. People don't, you know, it's you want to have a skywriter, you know your rights.
We should get a blimp.
Exactly, that'd be great. So, I mean, that is one of the challenges that, and Ronaldo, you'll learn that it's just with everything we do, how do you get the word out? I have a couple comments about this. I support this completely. I'm a landlady. That's horrible. I have 3 rental properties. The only time I've ever ended somebody moves into my house, my one tenant's been there 14 years. I've never raised a rent. Another tenant, they've been there 3 years. I'm not selling the house so that they can, you can't do it. I can't do it. I could more than double my money. And I just thought, you know what, these are good tenants. They live there. They've got dogs and cats. Why would I do that to those people? So I have an investment in this as well. And I have been a landlady now for a long time. And they're really, when you talk about the 30%, the 50%, no one can justify to me why that would go up except for greed. Okay. But one of the problems is with, it's a double-edged sword like anything else. Our property values are going up. Our tax base is going up. Good thing.
Insurance is going through the roof.
Let me, I didn't interrupt you.
Sorry, I'm just saying yes.
So I'm talking about the price, there's this boom on real estate now. You sell it, you can get a really good price, and people are jumping on that bandwagon. You can't blame them. But if I sold my house, the rent that I'm charging these folks would be doubled. Would be at least $1,000 more, because the price of the house, the rent has to cover the price of the house. It's just a fact. So we are faced with, you talk about the balance, we've got, yes, it's great to have, it's an age-old problem, gentrification. We want our people to be protected, but we have no control over who buys and sells houses. We have no control over that. So I think this is a very good first step. I think it is criminal that someone is allowed, and I don't do leases. I'm all handshakes. I think it would be criminal to say to somebody, you've got 2 weeks to move out. Maybe 20 years ago when everybody had little apartments and we were funky and you could always find a little apartment, like, but those days are over. And I would never do that. I gave her I had a tenant in one of my rentals and I wanted to change it. And I gave her 60 days. It's like, and you have to treat people with respect and dignity and care. So I am in favor of this. I wish we could do more. I don't know that, we'll look into the emergency thing, but I support this, and my heart goes out to people that are in the situation that they're in. It's horrible. Every day you read in the paper, the New York Times, this homelessness and the rents, the housing market, a huge segment of American society is really suffering. And if this is one little tiny thing that we can do, I say we do it. So we have a motion, we have a second. Do I have a vote?
Can we talk about changing the 5 to, I mean, literally, if you watch the news, you see the cost of insurances. I mean,
It's just giving notice, and we're not,
Yeah.
I hope that all the great landlords that we know, like the landlady sitting next to me, even as costs are going up and she's going to maybe have to increase rent to cover it, will still give the tenant 60 days notice.
Yeah.
It's not, and same thing with the barrier of them losing 15% of their business. They're not, I mean, it's just giving them notice. And I would go with everybody gets 60-day notice. So I think 5% is a compromise.
And I have to say, on my one rental, I just negotiated my insurance down. So the increase I was anticipating I would have to do, I don't have to do. So there's ways to be creative. So do I have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And there's some people that say, oh, their hair's on fire and you're gonna dissuade landlords from coming in. I don't buy it. So city attorney's report. Do we have one?
Just two very short items. Welcome, Commissioner Diaz. We had a brief meeting where I gave him the 5-minute version of the sunshine law.
Yeah, that's a very important one.
Here's a 1-minute version right now. Don't communicate with each other outside of this meeting about Lake Worth business. That simple.
Anything that's gonna come to our vote.
It was a good,
Reasonably.
Whether it's emails or text messages or phone conversations.
it was a good law school meeting. Thank you.
Social media.
Social media, yeah, Facebook, all those wonderful social media things, all those ways of communicating. We're also connected, but it's also dangerous. So most of you have seen presentations we've done for different League of Cities and stuff. And, I hate to say this, but I always end with pictures of somebody in a handcuff. People literally get arrested. And I was doing one of these at the Children's Service Council in Phoenix County a month ago, and I realized that the people that were sent to jail by the judge who's serving on the council. So judge, obviously they violated the law. They went to jail for, I think it did 60 days for one and maybe 90 for the other. These two commissioners up there. So anyway, that's the sunshine law. Redistricting, Commissioner Stokes, I think you mentioned that. Green Acres is going through that process now. With FAU, I've spoken with the manager about that briefly, and I sent an email to the FAU professor who was doing it, and he just emailed back while we're sitting here tonight. So we'll see if we can get together with him and then bring you back some kind of an agreement to do redistricting. Any questions other than that?
well, they do research first to see the voting block, correct? Before they redistrict, is that how it works?
They basically, ideally, they would come in and give you an overview of what the process is, but from listening to their presentation a week or so ago, they look at the census tracts and they simply, the number one guidepost is one person, one vote. So if every district, for example, I'll use Green Acres as an example, they had 3 districts that were between 8,200 and 8,800 people. So it's pretty close.
And we're not talking about voters or registered, we're talking about residents.
Residents. There was one district that had 12,000 residents. The other one had 6,500. Obviously, that's out of balance. So they did a little, redistricting, and they moved all of them a little bit. And so all those districts are now in that 8,000, 8,500, 8,600 range. And they have to be contiguous. So, you can't have a district that is here and over there. Yeah. So those are the 2 takeaways. And they'll certainly look at what the city currently has, and they'll try to maintain that as much as possible.
And they came back with 5 options.
They came back with 5 options. 3 of them, the commission rejected pretty quickly because they would have impacted a sitting commissioner. And everybody agreed that there was no need to do that. And options 1 and 5 were both good options. And just last night, actually, they're going to maybe bring them back to look maybe at tweaking the option. They picked option 1 a little bit. So it's a process. And now, especially with what voters just passed, single member districts, it's kind of important to make sure that each of their districts is fairly evenly represented.
Thank you.
Anything
else?
That's it. Have a great night.
Madam Mayor, how are you? And again with an M.
Not only did I get the clerk's power, do I get now the mayor's power? If I may take a little time from the city attorneys, I did have one additional item I wanted to share, and I think one of our speakers mentioned it, and I should have mentioned this as well, to let you know that the issue concerning the homelessness in our schools was a concern also to our employees. And so we as a city team are accepting donations for basic necessities for the students at Lake Worth High. And so we have, I'm sorry, let me pull up.
Middle or high school?
This is for the high school. And I did have my memo to talk about necessities. And so what we're asking for donations for body soap, body wash, female products, lotion, deodorant, personal grooming items. And so we're gathering that to share.
Oh, great. Thank you.
So I wanted to make that announcement. If the public would like to do that, they'd like to bring that to City Hall, we'll accept your donations. But that touched our soul as well. And so we wanted to be part of the solution.
Thank you. And I know that, I think I forget, if it's some neighborhood associate, maybe Paracope is doing the same thing for the middle school. And what you can do, the other thing you can do if you want to donate some of the things is order it online and just have it delivered to the school is another alternative. So you don't have to drop it. Schlepping is a little time consuming sometimes. Shopping is time consuming. So thank you very much. And thanks for taking that initiative. We are living in very rough times and our kids are suffering. So to see the kids the other night with a suit, it was just amazing. We're done. No.
I just.
What?
This ordinance we just passed, is it affecting residents and commercial?
I think it's residential. Good question. We'll find out and just, our attorney will tell us.
I just received a question.
Residential.
Residential, okay, because a commercial person just texted me and said my rent just went up 71%.
It's
in a Lake Worth Beach business.
It's horrible. I mean, greed is, greed is the new, what is it? Greed is good was that.
Would we consider adding commercial to it possibly on second reading?
Yeah, can we look at what other?
We've not researched that at all, so,
Okay.
and that would be a big change to second reading, so.
Yeah, that would be a big change.
So we could always do another ordinance after this one.
Okay, yeah, can you look into that?
Do we have consensus? Okay.
To do a second one.
To look at a second one for commercial properties as well, to protect our businesses?
Yeah.
71.
Maintaining this and policing this is going to be a challenge. Because we have to know what was the original rent.
If they get legal aid, then legal aid can help. It's just another tool in their tool belt to help. I know, it's gonna be challenging, but.
Really a challenge too, but we'll look to see whether that's preempted to the state. Yeah, that won't be that at all.
Because we are looking at a lot of vulnerable folks that are getting hurt really badly. It's crazy. I don't know how people are supposed to live.
During COVID, my gym was closed and our landlord increased our rent $800. My gym was closed by demand from the government and increased my rent $800 a month.
That's nuts. Thank you, people. Do I have a second? Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Have a good evening. Thank you.